Chapter 26. High in the sky, the system was somewhat speechless and said, "Host, we can also cross the ground, there is no need to fly so high." Lin Feng snorted coldly when he heard this. "What do you know, dog system? I fly so high so as not to make Susan worry. The less she knows, the better. The less she knows, the happier she is." After the explanation, Lin Feng couldn't help but taunt again, "I can tell from the looks of it that you're a single system, you don't even understand this. Roll." The system cursed with a dark face. "Get ready to travel through time. This system will send you to have a good fight with Da Chao." Buzz. As soon as the system finished speaking, a dark red light gate appeared in front of Lin Feng. "It is a portal, a channel connecting the Marvel and DC universes." Lin Feng took a deep breath and stepped in. The passage inside the door was very short, and Lin Feng flew through it quickly. At the other end of the passage is the blue planet of the DC universe. And when Lin Feng stepped into the portal, the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One who was meditating on Earth suddenly opened his eyes. She suddenly felt that Lin Feng's existence had disappeared in the entire universe. Confused, she took out the time gem and looked into the future, trying to find Lin Feng. The system's portal directly teleported Lin Feng to the sky above the DC Universe Twister, in the daytime. Ding, the system voice sounded again. "The mission has started, countdown is 10 days, please complete the mission within the time limit." After saying this, the portal slowly disappeared. Time is limited, so Raymond Lam doesn't hesitate. He already had a plan of action before he crossed over, and he immediately used his super hearing to cover the entire United States and obtain information. In an instant, all kinds of voices flooded into Lin Feng's head like a tide. Lin Feng held his breath, calmed down, and carefully identified and searched. He planned to find Batman and the others first to find out what was going on. According to the information provided by the system, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman should be together now. Sure enough, it was just as Lin Feng expected. In less than half a minute, Lin Feng found the sound he wanted. Found it! Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes and heard the conversation between Diana and Victor. Bang! A sonic boom was heard, and Lin Feng flew towards the direction where the sound came from at high speed. In a quiet private hospital, in a ward, Bruce Wayne lay on the hospital bed, barely breathing. His right chest was shot through by a heat ray from Clark Kent, the post-blackened Superman. If Diana hadn't helped him block the attack, Batman would probably have been killed by now. After several hours of rescue, Bruce was barely brought back from the brink of death. However, a whole day has passed and Bruce Wayne still hasn't woken up. The injuries are too severe, and the current situation is extremely serious. DC's Blue Star is in danger. There were 3 or 4 people sitting or standing in the ward. Diana, Aquaman, Victor, and Bruce's butler, Alfred. Several of them had sad faces and wounds on their bodies. Victor was repairing his mechanical body. Ah Fu stood in front of the bed with tears in his eyes. He watched Bruce grow up, watched Bruce gradually become the Batman who represents justice, and watched Bruce fall and get up again and again. But this time it's different. Bruce's injuries are so serious that even after he recovers, he can no longer dress up as Batman to punish evil. The food that Ah Fu brought was placed on the table, but no one touched it. The danger to Blue Planet has not been eliminated yet, but the think tank of the superhero team has already fallen. At the moment, no one is in the mood to eat. Why? Diana looked at Bruce lying on the hospital bed, lowered her head and sighed. Among the few people, she was the least injured. "It's not your fault, Diana," Victor said. "If you hadn't blocked the attack in time, Bruce wouldn't even have had a chance to be rescued." After hearing Victor's words, Diana felt better. "I know, if I had blocked Clark's attack earlier, Bruce wouldn't have been injured so badly. Now is not the time to discuss this." Aquaman, who had been silent all the time, interrupted their conversation. "The question now is, what do we do next?" After hearing this, several people were in a trance and the ward fell silent again. "Yeah, what to do next?" Bruce Wayne, who serves as the think tank, lies down, and it is very likely that he will not be able to stand up again. Barry Allen traveled around the world with the last Mother Box, and he didn't even dare to stay in one place for a while. Clark Kent after Blacken will quickly find Barry Allen, snatch the Mother Box, and then kill Barry Allen, as easy as crushing an ant. Thinking of Clark's eyes with a black and red luster and his hideous green face, everyone felt a little scared. Clark Kent is being controlled by someone. Alpha tucked the quilt for Bruce, turned around and said to a few people. His condition is obviously not right. I saw the scene of your fight through the young master's camera. The biggest possibility is that Master Clark's mind is controlled by something similar to magic. If we want to defeat Clark, we need to find the person who controls him. Ah Fu continued, I guess it should be the monster called Steppenwolf. So if you want to save the Earth, you need to find Steppenwolf first. As for Master Clark, although this is not a good idea. Ah Fu said, taking out a suitcase. After opening it, several green crystals lay quietly inside. Kryptonite will restrict his movements. As he said this, Ah Fu gently placed the box on the table. He looked at the kryptonite with some regret. If Master Wayne had brought the kryptonite with him last time, perhaps the outcome would be different now. I'll go heat up some food for everyone. Only when you are full will you have the strength to continue fighting the darkness. After saying that, Ah Fu walked out. No one in the ward spoke. They looked at each other, thinking about what Ah Fu had said. After a long while, Diana couldn't help but say, we have no way to find Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf will not show up until the third mother box is activated. The last unactivated mother box is in Barry's hands, and Superman is looking for him all over the world. Even if Steppenwolf shows up, can we defeat Steppenwolf and Clark? We don't have much time. Diana sighed again. The situation has reached a stalemate, which is something no one wants to see. Aquaman stood up with a gloomy face, and smashed the trident in his hand to the ground with a thud, then go fight Clark first. This is the best option at the moment. We must get rid of this strongest enemy first. Otherwise, if the mother box falls into Clark's hands, the consequences will be disastrous. Diana also nodded and agreed, with kryptonite, we can give it a try. If we can pull Clark, who is under control, into our camp, our chances of winning will increase. Victor, can you locate Barry Allen? Diana asked Victor. Victor's mechanical eyes lit up red, yes, Mr. Bruce has placed a tracker on him. I can monitor Barry Allen's location at all times. The question now is, who will fight Clark after we find him? Victor looked solemn. Several people combined are not big enough to fight against him, so a feasible plan must be formulated to have a chance to take down Clark. This is almost the last hope for several people, so we must be extremely cautious. Diana was the first to speak, let me do it, I'll hold Clark back. Diana was the least injured among the few people and was also almost the strongest. She felt that this important task should naturally fall on her, and she was confident that she could hold Superman back for a while. Victor, you are responsible for making the kryptonite into a weapon and finding the right opportunity to hit Clark's body. Victor nodded silently. I'll help you to hold Clark back. Aquaman Arthur spoke. There was a wound on his left arm caused by a heat ray, which exuded black and red aura from time to time, making it difficult to heal. Clark's heat ray after blackened seemed to have mutated, and the wounds he hit were almost impossible to heal. You stay and protect Bruce, Arthur. Diana looked at Aquaman's injured left arm, shook her head and said. I can do it. Let me go. Arthur slammed the trident heavily on the ground again, indicating that he was fine. Diana looked at Arthur and fell into silence. She didn't want Arthur, who had lost most of his fighting power, to continue fighting. The danger was too high. If he was not careful, Arthur might die. Just as they were looking at each other in silence, suddenly a strange voice sounded from the room. None of you can do it. Let me do it. Chapter 27. None of you can do it. Let me do it. A strange voice suddenly interrupted the conversation. Who? The pupils of several people shrank and they looked towards the source of the sound. I saw a strange man in the room. He was standing beside Bruce's bed, holding something in his hand, and the bandages on Bruce's body were scattered all over the floor after he had removed them. However, several people were totally unaware of his appearance, and a sense of weirdness and crisis suddenly enveloped everyone's heart. Get away from Bruce. Without thinking too much, Aquaman picked up the trident and threw it out. Buzz, bang. Without even raising his head, the man stretched out his right hand and grabbed the trident that was thrown at him. The trident with huge impact force was easily caught by the man. Several people felt depressed and had a lot of thoughts. But at the moment, there was no time for them to think too much. The stranger had ripped off all of Bruce's bandages and scattered them all over the floor. He was trying to murder Bruce. Victor's artillery system is not suitable for fighting in a room, which would kill Bruce directly. Arthur's left arm was injured and the trident was caught again, so only Diana was left. The next second, Diana exerted force on her feet, stepped forward, and punched out with tremendous power. Bang! Lin Feng reluctantly put down the work in his hands and caught Diana's fist with his left hand. The strong wind from the collision blew away all the remaining bandages on Bruce's body. Hey, calm down, Diana and Arthur. Lin Feng said helplessly, and then threw the trident back to Arthur. Aquaman took back the trident and pointed it at Lin Feng again, but this time he did not throw it. Instead, he asked with a vigilant look on his face, "Who are you? What are you doing to Bruce?" Lin Feng raised the green vial in his hand and shook it, saying, "I'm treating Bruce. Believe me, I mean no harm." After saying that, Lin Feng pointed at Bruce's wound and said, "Look if you don't believe me." Several people stared at Lin Feng suspiciously, approached the bed cautiously, and looked at Bruce's wound. The scene before them was beyond their understanding. Lin Feng was holding a small test tube bottle filled with green liquid. He dripped the green liquid drop by drop onto the wound on Bruce's chest. Bruce's internal organs and wounds were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Oh my god! He's healing!" Diana couldn't help but exclaim. The instruments connected to Bruce also showed that Bruce's vital signs were rapidly returning to normal. The wound that even the magic herbs couldn't heal was almost healed in the blink of an eye. Everyone was amazed at the scene. At the same time, he also realized that the person coming was at least not an enemy. This made everyone feel slightly relieved. Lin Feng stopped only after he had dripped nearly half of the liquid in the vial. The quantity has been given, and the rest depends on Bruce's recuperation. "Who are you?" Diana asked the question on everyone's mind. "Are you Bruce's friend?" "As for me, my name is Lin Feng." Lin Feng covered Bruce with the quilt again, looked at them with a smile, and said, "I'm here to help you." "Help us?" Aquaman sneered disdainfully, "We don't need your help. Don't think you are so strong just because you took my attack. I am injured and I am not even half as strong as usual. Besides, you have no idea how big a trouble we are facing right now." Aquaman Arthur was very unhappy that Lin Feng took his attack so lightly. He thought he didn't perform well because of his injury, and Lin Feng's attitude of "I'm here to help you" made him unhappy. "Don't say that, Arthur," Diana said. "He has helped us," Diana said meaningfully, "at least Lin Feng saved Bruce." "Thank you for saving Bruce." Diana looked at Lin Feng sincerely and thanked him. "But we can't put innocent people in danger. You don't understand what we're facing." Diana explained that although the man in front of her seemed to have some skills and could avoid the intrusion of everyone, but this does not mean that he has the capital to compete with Clark. Diana, who had fought with Clark, knew exactly how terrifying he was. Lin Feng shook his head and said with a smile, "Since I'm here, it means I know what you are facing. If I'm not mistaken, Superman knows you're here. He has not come to you yet because his first priority is to find the last mother box. I don't think you have any other choice. I know Clark's strength, but I am confident that I can deal with him. I'm saying this, you may not have any idea, so this and that." After Lin Feng finished speaking, he slowly floated into the air. The next second, a black battlesuit swept over his entire body. A pure black tights with a black cape hanging at the back. The huge S-shaped logo on the chest represents hope. It's exactly the same as Superman's battlesuit, just a different color. Clark's battlesuit is red and blue, while Raymond's is pure black. Several people stared in a daze at Lin Feng, who was flying into the air. They are very familiar with that outfit. WTF? Aquaman suspected he had seen it wrongly, another Superman. "You are a Kryptonian too?" Diana was surprised. "Are there still Kryptonians on this earth?" The last Kryptonian should be Clark's compatriot who died at his hands. His name seemed to be Zod. He died in the battle to invade Blue Star, and was killed by Clark himself. "I guess so." Lin Feng didn't intend to explain more. He was just here to complete a mission. Admitting his identity would help his actions. However, at this moment, Victor's mechanical arm suddenly made a buzzing sound. It changes shape rapidly and uncontrollably. In a flash, it turned into a cannon muzzle pointing at Lin Feng. "Victor, what are you doing?" Diana was startled by the sudden change and asked anxiously. Victor was sweating coldly at the moment. He tried his best to control himself. "I'm sorry, it's my automatic defense system. It sensed the danger. I can't control myself anymore." As he said that, a bullet popped out instantly, and a red indicator light flashed, counting down to the launch. Lin Feng was speechless when he saw this. He could only quickly put away his Superman battlesuit and come down from the air. He restrained his breath and said, "Hey, man, calm down, I'm not the enemy. But I was complaining in my heart, what kind of weird system is this? It seems that in the original book, everyone was beaten up by Superman after a rocket launcher fired at them. Perhaps because it detected the disappearance of the dangerous aura, Victor's mechanical arm finally calmed down and changed back with 2 clicks. This sudden change made several people sweat profusely, until Victor turned back, they breathed a sigh of relief. Good thing they didn't fight. Otherwise, if Victor fired a cannonball, there might be another enemy like Superman. Fortunately, Victor got it under control. Lin Feng knew that it was not Victor's fault, but mainly because the sense of intimidation brought by Superman was too severe. In the original book, Victor just couldn't control the system. If Tony were here, maybe he could fix it for him. Diana turned around and apologized to Lin Feng embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, Victor's system is very sensitive. He didn't mean to." Lin Feng nodded and said indifferently, "I understand, don't worry, I won't mind. Now you believe I can help you?" Several people looked at each other, and finally nodded, and they all relaxed. The appearance of Lin Feng brought greater hope. No matter where Lin Feng came from, he proved with his actions that he was at least not an enemy. Bruce's vital signs have stabilized. The people who were so gloomy just a moment ago finally saw some hope of victory. Although we don't know Lin Feng's specific strength for the time being, as a Kryptonian, he should be able to compete with Clark. And he had kryptonite on his side, so Lin Feng only needed to control Clark for a short period of time, and the others would have the opportunity to inject the kryptonite into his body. Things are moving in the right direction. Seeing several people nodding, Lin Feng smiled indifferently. His mission is to defeat Steppenwolf and Superman and save the DC Blue Planet. He can act on his own, find Barry directly, snatch the Mother Box and lure out Steppenwolf. The reason why he met several DC superheroes and saved Batman was simply because there was a sentence after the mission, the specific reward depends on the host's evaluation of this incident. This is like a hidden mission in a game, and Lin Feng plans to see if his guess is correct. If you guess correctly, the mission reward will be even more generous. If you guess wrong, there won't be much loss. Chapter 28. Bruce felt as if he had had a very long dream. In the dream, powerful aliens invaded the Blue Planet. The aliens want to get the 3 Mother Boxes to destroy the world. He took great pains to gather extraordinary talents from all over the place, intending to fight to the death. But to his despair, he discovered that aliens had taken control of Superman. After the battle, several people were seriously injured. Bruce could only activate the backup plan. He orders Barry Allen to escape with the last Mother Box. Let him run around the world non-stop so that Superman won't find him for the time being. Bruce himself has to go back and rebuild the kryptonite weapon to fight Superman, so that he has a chance of winning. However, this time, the controlled Superman didn't seem to intend to give him this opportunity. A terrifying heat ray came over and Bruce didn't dodge it. The severe pain in his chest told him that he had been hit, and the massive blood loss caused him to quickly lose consciousness. At the end of the sight, Diana used the shield to interrupt the heat ray and save herself. Just like that, with reluctance and despair, Bruce fell into darkness. This was the biggest disaster he had ever encountered since he became Batman. The opponent is a powerful alien race. The only existence on Earth that can compete with them is controlled by the other side. Bruce didn't know how to fight this battle, and the flame of victory gradually died out as Clark was controlled. How to deal with Dacheo, how to deal with the aliens, how to save the Blue Planet. These thorny problems seemed to be gradually moving away from him. From childhood to adulthood, he had suffered countless injuries, but he survived them all. However, this time, he didn't know if he would wake up. Bruce is undoubtedly lucky, as Blue Star still needs him to save it. Bruce was in the darkness, not knowing how long it had been, when he suddenly felt a cool breeze in his body, followed by a constant stream of warmth that gradually restored his consciousness. The warm current was constantly repairing his body, allowing Bruce to slowly regain consciousness. Under the influence of the warm current, Bruce gradually regained consciousness. The conversations of several people in the ward came into his ears, and after hearing their words, Bruce understood what was going on. Was it the stranger named Lin Feng who saved himself with a magical liquid? It seemed like Lin Feng was still a Kryptonian. The moment he heard Diana's questions, Bruce felt that there was still hope for Blue Planet and it could still be saved. The appearance of Lin Feng made Bruce feel that fate was unpredictable. There was a Kryptonian on the opposite side, and we also had a Kryptonian coming. When Bruce heard that Lin Feng was willing to help them, he felt new hope coming. He wanted to speak, but he couldn't control his body, and couldn't even open his eyes. He calmed down and felt his body carefully. His consciousness had not yet fully recovered, but he felt a strange pain and itching in his right chest. He should be recovering, Bruce thought. Because the pain in the right chest continued to ease until it disappeared. After a long time, when the pain completely disappeared, Bruce slowly opened his eyes, but he was still a little weak. Ah! The white ceiling. Turning his head slightly, Bruce found Alpha sitting next to him. Afu. The voice was too soft and Afu didn't hear it. Alfu. Help me up. Bruce's voice became louder. Oh my god, young master, you're awake. Afu then realized that Bruce was calling him. He excitedly helped Bruce up, gently, and thanked God. Noticing that Bruce had woken up, several people in the room immediately surrounded him. Although Bruce's face was pale at this moment, the big hole in his chest had completely disappeared, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Yeah, I'm awake. Bruce sat up. He immediately looked at the only stranger in the room. He has black hair and black eyes, and looks like an Oriental person. He looked at me with a smile on his face and said, "Hello, Bruce." It was a familiar voice. Bruce confirmed that he was Lin Feng after hearing the voice, and then said, "You must be Lin Feng. Thank you for the potion." "Oh? How did you know?" Lin Feng raised his eyebrows, feeling a little puzzled. How did Bruce know me as soon as he woke up? Diana and the others also cast puzzled glances. Bruce smiled politely and said, "I became conscious when you were treating me, but I couldn't wake up for a while." Lin Feng nodded, and understood, "So that's it, that makes sense." Afu asked with concern, "Master, how do you feel?" "I feel that my injury is no longer a problem, but I'm still a little weak." Bruce nodded to indicate that he was fine. He looked down at the wound on his chest, and there was no trace of it left. "What a magical potion!" Bruce exclaimed. "Bruce. Things will be much easier once you wake up," said Diana. She also breathed a sigh of relief. With Bruce's awakening and the help from another Kryptonian, the huge crisis on Blue Planet is about to turn around. Superman is searching the world for Barry Allen, and they don't have much time. If he took the last mother box, the consequences would be disastrous. Everyone understands this principle. Bruce nodded at Diana, then looked at Alpha and gave instructions. "Alpha, get me something to eat." Bruce felt hungry after waking up. He needed food to replenish his body's energy. "Okay, young master." Afu nodded and left to prepare food. The food that had just been served had already gone cold, so Alpha prepared to ask the chef to prepare some new nourishing food. After all, Bruce had just escaped from life-threatening danger. Thinking of this, Afu cast a grateful look at Lin Feng. It was he who pulled Master Bruce back from the brink of death. After Alpha left, Bruce nodded to the others and said, "We don't have much time at the moment." Upon hearing this, several people nodded in agreement, knowing that Bruce had something to say. "We must prepare as soon as possible. Victor, can we communicate with Barry?" Bruce asked Victor. Victor affirmed, "Sure. I gave you a tracker with a calling function. You were right to put it on Barry." Bruce nodded and looked at Aquaman again. "Arthur, do you still have the ability to fight?" Bruce also noticed that Aquaman couldn't lift his arm because it was bandaged. "Definitely," Aquaman said stubbornly. He wanted to raise his arms to show Bruce that he was fine. After trying for a long time, he still couldn't lift it up, and the people watching shook their heads. Seeing this, Lin Feng generously took out a small green bottle, threw it to Aquaman and said, "2 drops, at most 2 drops, can heal your injuries. Don't use too much, it's expensive." Aquaman took it with a serious look on his face and nodded at Lin Feng, "Thanks." He had witnessed the magic of the green liquid with his own eyes. Now that they all had a common enemy, he was not going to be polite to Lin Feng. Without hesitation, he reached out to remove the bandage on his left arm. A hideous wound emitting a strange black and red light appeared in front of everyone. The wound was so deep that the bone was visible, and everyone who saw it gasped. Aquaman carefully opened the green bottle, 1 drop, 2 drops. He remembered what Lin Feng said and only dripped 2 drops before putting the bottle away. Under the gaze of several people, the green liquid made a sizzling sound when it hit the wound, and the black and red light gradually disappeared as if being driven away, revealing the flesh underneath. When the black and red light completely disappeared, the wound slowly closed together. Under the effect of the residual green liquid, it slowly healed. In a moment, the wound completely disappeared. Although they had just seen it once, this magical sight still made them marvel. Seeing the wound disappear, Aquaman moved his left arm and spun it twice, with a gleam of light in his eyes. "I'm well again. It's amazing." Bruce also looked at Lin Feng and thanked him again. Aquaman is also an indispensable fighting force in the team. Everyone saw that Lin Feng was willing to use such a precious medicine for treatment. At the moment, everyone recognized Lin Feng's identity as an ally. Confidence in defeating Steppenwolf and saving Blue Planet increased greatly. Chapter 29. Ah Fu came back with food. Everyone gathered together to enjoy the meal. Because the situation was too serious and Bruce's life or death was uncertain, no one ate much. Now that new hope had appeared, everyone felt a little hungry, so they started eating without hesitation. Lin Feng also took out 2 bottles of wine brewed from the leaves of the life tree and distributed them to everyone. This thing can quickly restore energy and physical strength. It is also a rare good thing. 1 bottle is worth 10,000 reputation points. The few people were no longer very curious about the wonderful things that Lin Feng took out. After all, they had seen the green magical liquid before. Several people were eating and discussing the current situation in the hospital. On the other side of the earth, the Flash Barry Allen is using the Speed Force to constantly fly. At the moment Barry looked tired, but he didn't dare to relax at all. In just a short period of time, Superman has discovered him 3 times. Perhaps the goddess of luck was on his side, as he escaped unscathed 3 times. He was almost in tears at this moment. He was not very timid to begin with, so how could he have the courage to face that terrifying Dacheo alone? Barry ran with the box in his arms, praying that support from Batman would arrive as soon as possible. He didn't know how long he could hold on. His eyelids had been fighting for a long time. Barry was undoubtedly lucky. After escaping from Superman's pursuit, he found several thick lead plates in a basement. He covered himself with lead sheets, gasping for breath, and got the hard-earned rest time. He knew that Dacheo's perspective ability could not see through objects behind the lead. After finally catching his breath, he took out the tracker Batman gave him and pressed the button. The green communication light comes on. He quickly typed the Morse code for help, typed it a few times, and then turned off the communicator. Poor Barry Allen was too scared to speak. God knows whether Superman will use his super hearing to find himself. I don't even dare to type the code more than once. Now we can only pray that support arrives quickly. Maybe he heard Barry's prayer. Batman successfully received the distress message. At the moment, several people who had eaten and drunk their fill sat down around a round table, discussing next course of action. After integrating the information, Bruce set out a specific action plan. First, we need to get the last mother box. With Lin Feng joining us, I think we can keep the mother box. Bruce said solemnly. At the same time, we must use kryptonite weapons to control Clark. Try not to kill Clark. I'm going to make a pair of handcuffs to temporarily control Clark. Without Clark's fighting power and the mother box, I don't think Steppenwolf will be able to sit still. If he wants the mother box, he has to come to us. We set a trap and wait for Steppenwolf to come to us. How is it? Is there any problem? After saying that, Bruce looked around at the people. Several people nodded to indicate that there was no problem. This was the plan that everyone had worked on for a long time to finalize. If there were any inappropriate places, they would just make adjustments accordingly. Finally, Bruce looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was the only one who could be considered as external aid in this incident, and he was also the most powerful among the few people. No matter how much strength he has of Superman, the burden of competing with Superman still falls on his shoulders. I have no problem. Seeing Bruce looking at him, Lin Feng roughly knew what he meant, and without saying much, he just nodded. Seeing this, Bruce pondered for a moment and said, in that case, then, Victor, you and I will go make kryptonite weapons. Once the kryptonite weapon is ready, we'll set out to rescue Barry. Lin Feng, Diana, and Arthur, you should take a break first and gather your strength. It will take about an hour to make a kryptonite weapon. Several people nodded in agreement, and Bruce took Victor to the basement. The huge room seemed a little empty with only 3 people left. San didn't know what to say, so he remained silent. After a long time, Diana still felt that it would be better to liven up the atmosphere. After all, they would be fighting side by side soon, so they took the initiative to attack. She looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng. Lin Feng also looked at Diana. What's wrong? Are you really a Kryptonian? I mean, why haven't I seen you before? Lin Feng smiled slightly. Strictly speaking, I do have Kryptonian blood. As for combat power, don't worry. I have all the abilities that Clark has. Oh, that's not what I meant. I didn't doubt your strength. Diana explained, I just thought Clark was the last Kryptonian. If Clark wakes up and knows that his compatriots still exist, he will be very happy. Lin Feng tilted his head and said, if I'm not mistaken, Clark should be the only Kryptonian left in this universe. But in another world, he has a cousin named Kayla Zor-El. In that world, people call him the female Superman. Female Superman. Aquaman came closer with an interested expression. Is she pretty? Lin Feng retreated tactically. Why do you care whether she is pretty or not? Don't you already have Mera? Good man, you are the real Aquaman, not that Aquaman. Arthur. Diana looked at Aquaman with a dark face, making Aquaman feel a little embarrassed. I'm just curious, is she strong? Very strong. But probably not as strong as Clark's ability, Lin Feng nodded and added. And it's beautiful too. As for me, I come from a more distant universe, which is not even a parallel universe to yours. Lin Feng continued, as for me, I should be the only one who has Kryptonian blood. In Marvel, there seems to be no Kryptonians, and Raymond Lam is the only one. Then you must be very lonely. Diana looked at Lin Feng with eyes full of sympathy, which made Lin Feng's scalp tingle. I can't say I'm lonely, I still have friends. Lin Feng scratched his head awkwardly. Then how did you come to our universe? Aquaman Arthur asked curiously. Hiss, if you want to say this. Lin Feng took a breath and said, this is very complicated to explain. I can't explain it clearly, because my appearance is really strange. There are too many things involved here. Lin Feng shook his head and didn't intend to say more. The fact that he has a system cannot be revealed. After all, strictly speaking, Lin Feng is an audience member outside the fourth wall and he does not exist in the plot. After thinking for a while, Lin Feng made an analogy. To put it bluntly, it is like the blue planet under your feet feels the danger and is asking me for help. So here I am. Okay. Diana and Arthur both nodded. Everyone has their own secrets. Forcible exploration would cause disgust and be impolite. Seeing that the two stopped asking questions, Lin Feng breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know whether Kayla exists in this universe. Lin Feng wanted to meet Kayla, the female Superman. He was quite interested in Kayla. Interested in every sense, hi. However, Raymond Lam remembered that he had only seen the female Superman in TV dramas, and the existence of the female Superman was not mentioned at all in the movie. He wondered if there would be a chance to see her in the future. While the three were chatting idly, Bruce pushed the door open. Guys, get to work. Bruce said to them, the fighter plane is ready. Barry can't wait long. Let's set off immediately. Chapter 30. After some preparation, they boarded the fighter plane and flew at high speed to where Barry Allen was. On the fighter plane, Batman took out 2 weapons made of kryptonite and gave them to Diana. As for why he didn't give it to Lin Feng, Bruce knew that Lin Feng was also a Kryptonian, and kryptonite would be useful to him just as well. This is a pair of kryptonite handcuffs and a dagger, Bruce explained. Lin Feng's mission is to temporarily suppress Clark. Diana, put kryptonite handcuffs on Clark when you see the opportunity, so that you can control him without threatening Clark's life. Diana nodded and took it. Both items were placed inside a lead box to avoid affecting Raymond Lam. As for the dagger, take it first and use it when you have the chance. If you don't have the chance, we'll talk about it later. Bruce added, I have prepared a few kryptonite bullets here. They are a backup plan in Victor's weapon system. We don't have much time, and we don't have many kryptonite bullets to make. We don't need to use them. Kryptonite bullets can cause too much damage to Clark. Lin Feng came up with a curious look on his face and said, can I see the kryptonite weapon? He was very curious about kryptonite and wanted to see if it would really have an effect on him. Hearing Lin Feng say this, Diana was shocked. Lin, isn't there kryptonite in your world? This thing will make you lose your fighting power. Bruce asked doubtfully, Lin, have you never seen kryptonite? Lin Feng nodded and explained, I come from another universe. There is no kryptonite there. I want to see if it will have any effect on me. Hearing Lin Feng say this, Bruce looked at Lin Feng deeply, hesitated a little, and said to Diana, Diana, let Lin Feng take a look. Let Lin Feng understand kryptonite's abilities so that he can better deal with Clark. Diana nodded after hearing this. She handed over the lead box and said, Lin Feng, you have to be careful. Being close to kryptonite may make you feel uncomfortable. If there is any problem, I will close the lead box immediately. After saying that, Diana slowly opened the lead box. Lin Feng leaned over curiously. Inside the lead box was a dagger and a pair of handcuffs. Except for the handle, the entire dagger is made of kryptonite, and the handcuffs are also partially made of metal, probably to increase their sturdiness. The moment he got close to the kryptonite weapon, Lin Feng frowned. He felt the blood in his body flowing faster, and at the same time a slight feeling of weakness spread throughout his body. However, he found that he did not seem to have lost his fighting power. You have to know that in the original book, Clark would basically fall to his knees when he got close to kryptonite. Kryptonite had a huge impact on him. After a little thought, Lin Feng picked up the kryptonite handcuffs in front of the surprised eyes of several people. He wanted to see if exposure to kryptonite would cause him harm. The moment he came into contact with the kryptonite, the feeling of fatigue became more obvious. Lin Feng felt his blood flowing rapidly, and his whole body became weak. At the same time, he felt a very slight palpitation. However, the imagined loss of combat effectiveness did not occur. Lin Feng's eyes lit up and he felt his body carefully. It cannot be said that there is no impact at all, it probably weakened the combat effectiveness by 30 to 40%. Apart from this, there is no other discomfort. This means that the effect of kryptonite on Raymond Lam is not as strong as that on Clark. A feeling of joy surged in Lin Feng's heart. The system's talk of optimizing Superman's bloodline turned out to be true. After putting the handcuffs back into the lead box, the feeling of palpitations immediately disappeared and Lin Feng returned to normal. He exhaled, looked at the stunned people and said, it's not as serious as you might think. It will probably only weaken some of my fighting power and make me feel a little uncomfortable. There's no other feeling than that. Bruce exclaimed, aren't you a Kryptonian? Has the effect of kryptonite weakened? Bruce's face darkened when he thought of the possibility. If the effect of kryptonite really weakens, it will not be good news for everyone, as it means that Superman will be completely out of his control. Diana said thoughtfully, it shouldn't be the case. Kryptonite has little effect on Raymond Lam. It may be because Raymond Lam is not from our universe. Bruce was puzzled. Just now I wanted to ask, what does Lin Feng mean by people who are not from our universe? Diana then repeated what Lin Feng had said before. After listening to this, Bruce raised his eyebrows and breathed a sigh of relief, so there is another reason. Lin Feng nodded and said, yes, kryptonite shouldn't be a problem. The main reason should be due to my personal uniqueness. You can regard me as a foreign passerby. After resolving this incident, I will leave. Lin Feng said this mainly to reassure Batman. If Batman, a Kryptonian who is not afraid of kryptonite, stayed on Earth, he would probably not be able to sleep well all day and all night. Clark is a precedent. If it weren't for kryptonite, who knows whether Batman would allow Superman to develop. This fact further proves Batman's guess, how terrifying is an out-of-control Superman. Look at Blacken's Clark, oh my god. Raymond Lam was in a good mood after learning that he was not afraid of kryptonite. The other people also had different moods. Bruce had a gloomy face and no one knew what he was thinking. Diana, on the other hand, was thinking about the upcoming battle with a worried look on her face. Aquaman fiddled with his trident nonchalantly. He didn't know whether it was kryptonite or not. After the battle was over, he would go back to the bottom of the sea to find Mera to create humans. He didn't want to care about or know what was happening on land. Mera is still the best. Suddenly, just as everyone's thoughts were scattered, a rapid beeping sound suddenly came from the fighter plane. Several people looked in the direction of the sound and saw that it was the control console that was ringing. There is information intervention. Victor rushed to the console and pressed a button. The beeping sound disappeared, and then the voice of the Flash, Barry Allen, was heard. Bruce also follows the first two steps and presses the speaker function. Barry, is that you? Oh, thank God, it's finally connected. Barry Allen's voice, full of fatigue and a little surprise, came from the other end of the communicator. It's me, guys. I might not be able to hold on. I can't keep the mother box. Barry Allen's voice was tearful and accompanied by heavy gasping. He found me, Superman found me, I can't run anymore. Barry Allen didn't know what was the point of continuing to run. Superman would soon catch up with him when he was exhausted, and Batman and his companions were still on the other side of the Earth. He felt that he could no longer keep the mother box. Hearing about Barry's current situation, everyone's faces became solemn. Bruce said in a deep voice, "Calm down, Barry. We're on our way to where you are. You have to hold on, Barry. If we lose the mother box, Blue Planet will be destroyed. Barry, believe in yourself, hold on a little longer." "Oh. Thank God you guys are here. How long will it take?" Hope appeared in Barry Allen's eyes again. He felt that he could run again. Bruce's words seemed like a shot of adrenaline, which made Barry burn again. Bruce was silent as he looked at the data displayed on the instrument. Estimated time of arrival 51 minutes 37 seconds. Chapter 31. Barry. Bruce thought for a moment and then said, "We'll be there in half an hour." Barry almost stumbled and fell to the ground when he heard this. He cried out in despair again, "What? It will take another half an hour." Barry looked back and saw Superman with a ferocious face flying in the air, no more than 100 meters away from him. Huge amounts of crisis were coming, and Barry turned over and changed the direction of his advance. The next second, a heat ray hit the place where Barry was just now. "Oh my God! Man, I can't hold on for half an hour. Maybe in the next second, I will die under the heat ray." Barry shouted, his steps becoming a little unsteady. The long journey increased Barry's fatigue. In the fighter plane, when several people heard Barry's answer, they all looked solemn and said nothing. Seeing this, Lin Feng stood up silently, "I can go first." Seeing several people looking at him, Lin Feng nodded and continued, "My flight is very fast, open the fighter plane, I will fly over first. Tell Barry to run in the direction I'm flying. I'll be there as soon as possible." Several people's eyes lit up when they heard this. Bruce nodded decisively, "Okay, Lin Feng, you go first. We must save Barry and the mother box. This concerns the fate of Blue Planet." After saying that, Bruce reached out and patted Lin Feng on the shoulder, his eyes full of solemnity and entrustment. Lin Feng nodded silently, and the next second, a black battlesuit appeared on his body. Bruce handed Lin Feng a headset, "Take this headset, we can talk anytime. Are you ready?" Lin Feng took the headset, put it on his ears, and replied, "Okay. Open the hatch." The next second, Bruce pulled the hatch, and the air was instantly sucked out of the cabin. Lin Feng did not resist and was thrown out of the fighter plane along with the air. Bang! Lin Feng broke away from the fighter plane, turned around, and flew towards Barry at a high speed like a meteor, leaving only a few sonic boom clouds in the air. The speed is more than 10 times faster than that of a fighter plane. The people inside the fighter plane were prepared and were not sucked out of the plane. Seeing that Lin Feng had flown away, Bruce closed the cabin door, then turned on the communication and let Lin Feng in. At the same time, a green light spot representing Lin Feng's position appeared on the screen of the fighter console. Victor's eyes lit up when he checked the data, and he said to the others, "There is hope. Lin Feng's flight speed is very fast. At this speed, Lin Feng should be able to fly to Barry's location in less than 5 minutes." Upon hearing this, the expressions of several people relaxed a little. As expected of Kryptonians, flight flew at a speed that was more than 10 times the speed of sound and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Bruce answered the call again, "Barry, can you hear me, Barry?" "I can hear you." Barry's voice came again from the other end of the communicator. "Guys, maybe it's time to say goodbye. I'm sorry, I can't keep the mother box." It was like the exhausted Barry was giving his last words. "Oh. Barry. Don't give up." Diana stepped forward and said worriedly. Bruce also said, "Barry, don't give up. Lin Feng is flying towards you. Hold on for 2 minutes. He will be there in 2 minutes. Don't lie to me, Bruce. Also, who is Lin Feng? I didn't lie to you. Barry, Lin Feng is our secret weapon. He is the secret weapon that can compete with Superman." Bruce said hurriedly. At this time, Barry must see hope so that he will have a chance to hold on until Lin Feng arrives. After Bruce finished speaking, he operated on the console and connected Lin Feng's headset to the communication channel. "Hi. Barry Allen, I'm Lin Feng." Lin Feng's voice sounded in the channel. The biological force field allows Lin Feng to communicate with everyone while flying at super high speed. He heard the conversation between Bruce and Barry just now, so he naturally knew what Bruce meant. "Trust me, man, I have Kryptonian blood too. I'm rushing towards you. Hold on." Lin Feng's concise words were like a shot of adrenaline to Barry's heart. "Oh my god! Is this true?" Barry was so excited that he was incoherent. At the same time, he couldn't help complaining, "Why didn't you use this secret weapon earlier?" The people in the fighter plane looked at each other in bewilderment. "We also wanted to use it earlier, but the secret weapon only appeared today. What can we do?" Bruce said, "Barry, run to your southeast direction, that's where Lin Feng is coming from." "Got it, sir. I can definitely hold out for 2 minutes." Hope came, and Barry suddenly felt full of strength again. He squeezed out the last bit of potential, turned back on the spot like lightning, and rushed towards the southeast. After turning off the communication, everyone in the fighter plane focused their attention on the screen showing the coordinates, which displayed a line of data and 2 signal points. The 2 signal points were approaching each other rapidly, and the data showed that it would only take 2 minutes and 38 seconds for the 2 signal points to overlap. Several people constantly prayed that Barry could run faster and Lin Feng could fly faster. No one wanted to see the disaster coming. At the moment, Raymond Lam has pushed the speed of flight to its limit, with the radiation from the sun constantly replenishing its energy. Barry, who was running at full speed, was in great pain. The controlled Black and Clark seemed to be playing a game, like a big cat playing with a mouse, shooting out a heat ray from time to time to change the direction of Barry's advance. Barry managed to escape narrowly time and time again. He knew that if he was hit once, he would be finished, and now he could only pray that these 2 minutes would pass quickly. Maybe Barry's luck had run out. When Clark fired the next heat ray, Barry's dodge was just a little slow, and he was hit on the ankle. Instantly, Barry screamed and exited the extreme speed state. He lost his balance and rolled a distance on the ground before stopping. The heat ray just brushed past his ankle, taking away most of the flesh and blood on Barry's ankle. The intense pain hit Barry, his forehead was covered in cold sweat, and he kept screaming while holding his ankle. The mother box was also thrown not far away. Seeing Barry stop, a sneer seemed to flash across Black and Clark's ferocious face. He slowly floated down from the air and picked up the mother box. Barry watched the mother box fall into Clark's hands, and he thought something was wrong. He endured the pain and opened the communication. "Superman hit me. He got the mother box." After hearing these words, Batman and the others in the fighter plane's pupils shrank and they stood up instantly. "It's over, guys. This time we really have to say goodbye." "Oh no, it should be goodbye forever." Clark, who picked up the mother box, looked at Barry who was lying on the ground. His bloodshot eyes slowly began to turn red. He was charging up the heat ray. Barry knew clearly that he could not avoid this heat ray. His feet had suffered huge amounts of injuries and he could no longer use his speed force. There was really no escape this time. Barry closed his eyes resignedly. At this moment, a voice like the sound of nature rang out in his earphones. "Hey! Barry, I see you." Chapter 32. "Hey! Barry, I see you." Lin Feng's voice suddenly rang out. The sudden sound made Barry open his eyes again. The next second, like a meteorite impact, Clark, who was still preparing to launch a heat ray, was knocked away by Lin Feng who arrived quickly. The muscular body disappeared from Barry's sight in an instant with a whistling sound. The sound of something cutting through the air was then heard, and the storm it brought directly cut a gully on Lin Feng's flight route. The defenseless Barry Allen was also thrown hundreds of meters away. Fortunately, Lin Feng caught Barry in time and prevented him from falling hard. Putting Barry Allen on the ground, Lin Feng threw a box to him. "It is the last mother box." Just at the moment when Clark was about to be knocked away, Lin Feng was quick-eyed and quick-handed and snatched it away. "Here you go, Barry." Barry hurriedly caught the mother box that was thrown to him, and then stared in amazement at Lin Feng floating in front of him. "Oh my god!" Barry was shocked to see Lin Feng dressed exactly like Superman, except for the color of his battlesuit which was slightly different. He even seemed to have temporarily forgotten the pain in his ankle. Another Superman. Lin Feng nodded, didn't I say I have Kryptonian blood? But now is not the time to talk about this, Clark is coming back. After saying hello, Lin Feng looked at the direction where Clark was knocked away with a serious face. By now Clark has reacted and is heading towards flight. Lin Feng exerted force and rushed towards the direction where Clark was flying, trying to move the battlefield away and not hurt Barry. They are all Superman, and flight speed is comparable. Almost in the blink of an eye, the two collided in mid-air. Clark behind Blacken seemed to be irritated by Lin Feng's sneak attack, and his face became even more ferocious. Seeing this, Raymond Lam couldn't help but wonder, is this a zombie Superman? How did he become like this, with his face turning green? There was no time for Lin Feng to sigh. Clark appeared in front of Lin Feng in a flash. A punch was thrown with huge impact force. Lin Feng was not willing to be outdone and also threw a punch. Bang! When the two fists collided, the air seemed to explode, and strong wind burst out from the point where the two fists joined and spread out. Terrifying destructive power. The two Supermen faced off, and the air seemed to be distorted. Seeing Lin Feng taking the punch, Clark's eyes suddenly turned red, and the next second, a heat ray shot towards Lin Feng's head. Lin Feng seemed to have noticed it long ago and flew upwards quickly to avoid the heat ray. Afterwards, Lin Feng swooped down and punched Clark in the face with his powerful fist. Bang! Boom! Blacken Clark was knocked directly into the ground by this punch, creating a human-shaped hole in the hard road surface. The sound of the impact spread along with the sound waves. Barry, who was 100 meters away, only felt a gust of wind pressure coming towards him and he couldn't even open his eyes. The wind pressure dissipated, and Barry looked at the scene in astonishment. Two Supermen fighting, it was so terrifying. Oh, guys! You really should see this. Barry muttered into his headphones. It's like two gods in mythology are fighting. Roar! Clark was frightened by the roar. Then there was a loud bang, and a black and red light appeared in the pit. That was Clark's heat ray, which suddenly shot out from the pit, presenting a strange black and red ray. Heat ray is extremely fast, much faster than the previous red heat ray. Lin Feng dodged sideways, and the heat ray just brushed the tip of Lin Feng's hair and swept into the sky. A strand of black hair evaporated into ash, and Lin Feng's pupils shrank suddenly. The power and speed of heat ray are increasing. Bang! Black and Clark flew out of the pit, and his image at this moment had changed by huge amounts compared to before. Clark's entire body was almost a circle larger than before, his eyes were glowing black and red, his muscles were swelling as if they were almost exploding, and his entire face was green as if it was glowing. Lin Feng was stunned. Oh my god! What the hell is this? Has Clark mutated again? Before Lin Feng could think about it, Clark appeared in front of Lin Feng as if teleporting. He stretched out his hand and punched out without any skill. The speed is too fast, much faster than before. Lin Feng only had time to cross his hands over his chest to block it. Bang! This punch directly sent Lin Feng flying 1,000 meters away. Lin Feng only felt a sharp pain and numbness in his arms. There was also a sharp pain in the chest and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of the mouth. Just as he managed to steady himself, a series of heat rays swept over him. Like a laser cannon, the sky was suddenly filled with black and red light. Raymond Lam almost used his flight ability to the fullest, constantly dodging the heat rays. With a heat ray of this level, even if Lin Feng is hit, a hole will be created. Lin Feng was sweating profusely and yelled "System" in his heart. System! Do you know what's going on with Clark? Why did he suddenly become so powerful? Why is this like Doomsday? Clark has become Doomsday. The system popped up and replied, after Clark is controlled by Blacken, he will enter a state similar to Berserk, and his combat power will be greatly enhanced in a short period of time. This is also the function of the magic weapon I told you about before. Lin Feng barely dodged a heat ray and asked again. Are there no restrictions? Yes, the system estimates that this state will last for about an hour. As long as we can hold on for an hour, the host will have a chance to counterattack. FK, what are you talking about? Lin Feng cursed. You think I can last an hour? At the moment, he was highly focused. A heat ray would create a hole in the game. He had never thought that heat ray could be used like this. It was like the laser rain he had seen in his previous life, without the need to charge. The system was silent for a while, and then said, I don't think you can hold on if this continues. Lin Feng's eyes twitched. What should I do? There is no other choice but to activate the backup plan, said the system. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he said in surprise, Dog system, do you have a backup plan? Tell me, what is it? The system coughed twice, Host, activate tactical retreat. What the hell? Lin Feng had a puzzled look on his face. He wondered if he had heard it wrong. The system continued, run away. If you can't win, run away. Are you serious? Lin Feng's face was filled with black lines. Run away? Run away from Batman and his men. You're going to lose face even if you go to your grandma's house, okay? The system seemed to have guessed what Lin Feng was thinking, and directly asked, you still care about your face at this time? Is your life more important or your face? Nima. You are a coward. It was you who asked me to help, and now it's you who wants me to run away. Lin Feng felt depressed. What will happen to Barry if I run away? Lin Feng asked again. You can't even protect yourself, so why do you care about his life or death? The system's voice suddenly became emotionless. Lin Feng fell silent after hearing this. Chapter 33. A slight distraction allowed Clark to seize the opportunity. With a punch, Lin Feng was smashed directly into the ground, creating a huge hole. Now he enjoyed the same treatment as Clark before. A surge of blood and energy surged, and Lin Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. He felt that the arms that had been used to block the attack had lost feeling, were numb and painful. If you don't leave now, someone will really die. The system's cold voice sounded again. Lin Feng gasped heavily and slowly flew out of the pit. Blacken's Clark was floating in the air and looking into Lin Feng's eyes. The next second, both of them had red light in their eyes. Two heat rays, one black and one red, collided in the air. Lin Feng's heat ray was obviously not as powerful as Clark's, and he was pushed back step by step. Seeing that the heat ray was ineffective, Lin Feng dodged and stopped the heat ray. The black and red heat ray immediately hit the ground, creating a sea of fire. Host, the portal is ready. You can return to the Marvel world at any time. The system's voice rang in his ears again, making Lin Feng feel as if the system was tempting him to run quickly. Lin Feng was speechless. Leave? How to leave? I want to leave too, but I always feel that I will not be able to live with my conscience if I leave. Lin Feng shook his head. His arrival brought hope to Batman and others. If he ran away at this time, not only would it be embarrassing, but Lin Feng would also feel guilty. He asked himself, he is not such an irresponsible person. Besides, as soon as I leave, Barry will definitely be gone. He ran away by himself, indirectly destroying Barry's life. Thinking of this, Lin Feng's eyes became firm. I can't leave. There is no such thing as escape in our race. Lin Feng roared, silencing the system. Lin Feng forced himself to calm down and looked for Clark's flaws. It is impossible to escape, and Lin Feng is not without a chance of winning. After several rounds of fighting, Lin Feng discovered that the controlled Clark could only fight forward. There is no such thing as fighting skills. If there is a right opportunity and angle, a counterattack is possible. Lin Feng used the tactic of procrastination without thinking. While flying the kite around Clark, he asked Batman in the headset how long it would take to arrive. Diana has a kryptonite weapon with her, and as long as the kryptonite weapon arrives, Lin Feng can kill her. Less than 10 minutes. Bruce's voice came. Flying Clark's kite for 10 minutes is not too long. It is daytime now and the sun is shining brightly. Raymond Lam can take a gamble. Lin Feng's idea is correct, but some people don't want to gamble with him. Barry didn't notice that while the two supermen were fighting, a light blue beam of light appeared behind him. Then there was a rubbing sound and a sharp pain came from the chest. Barry felt as if all the strength in his body was instantly drained away, leaving only severe pain. It's Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was teleported by the light column and swung his axe at Barry without saying a word. Almost split Barry in half. Poor Barry was ambushed before he could even shout, and his life was in danger. Kicking the half-dead Barry away, Steppenwolf picked up the mother box on the ground and smiled with satisfaction. Fighting or something, how can it be more important than the mother box? This is Steppenwolf's goal this time. The end is coming. Steppenwolf shouted, and the two men fighting in midair looked over at the same time. Clark, follow me. With an order, the beam of light appeared again. Lin Feng saw Barry lying on the ground with a pool of red blood flowing from under him, and he was both angry and anxious. Damn it, this is a lack of martial ethics. Clark seized the opportunity when Lin Feng was distracted. A punch to the waist sent Lin Feng flying a long distance again. Clark obeyed Steppenwolf's order and flew to his side. A light blue beam of light enveloped the two of them and teleported them away. The mother box is already in hand, there is no need to fight a Superman again, there are too many variables. Boil. Lin Feng flew back with a furious look on his face, and he could do nothing but watch the portal disappear. Looking at Barry again, fortunately, he was still alive. Lin Feng hurriedly took out the green bottle, and there was still half a bottle of liquid left in the bottle. He opened the bottle cap and carefully dripped the liquid onto the wounds on Barry's chest and ankle. After a few drops of liquid, Barry's injuries healed faster and his breathing became stable again. He touched the wound, moved his ankle, and exclaimed in surprise, "You saved me, Superman." At this moment, Barry really wanted to cry. God knows how much pressure he has been under during this period. Finally, he saw hope, but was attacked by Steppenwolf and was in critical condition. Life is full of ups and downs. Now Barry just wanted to have a good cry, then take a hot bath and have a good meal. However, his dream could not be realized for the time being. Things are getting worse. Lin Feng sat down on the ground and took a rest. He raised his head and looked up at the sky, and said solemnly, "Things are getting worse. Barry." The mother box was taken away by them. This can be said to be the first difficult battle for Raymond Lam after he obtained the Superman ability. However, the ending is not satisfactory. Steppenwolf still took the mother box away, and Lin Feng thought he could stop it. But reality taught him a harsh lesson. But Lin Feng was not that disappointed. After all, compared to the original work, this event is full of variables. And Clark is the biggest variable. Buzz. A black fighter plane slowly landed in front of the two people. Batman and his companions arrived late. Bruce walked out of the fighter plane wearing a bat battle suit, followed by Diana and others. He saw two people sitting on the ground, and at the moment both of them looked unhappy. Looking around, there were irregular potholes everywhere, and it was obvious that a big battle had just taken place here. Not seeing the mother box, Bruce's expression became serious. "Oh man! You are finally here." Barry almost couldn't hold back his tears when he saw them coming. Bruce nodded, "Thank you for your hard work, Barry. Are you hurt?" Barry jumped up, "I almost died. It was Lin Feng who used a strange liquid, oh no, it was a magical liquid that cured me." Seeing that Barry was jumping around and didn't look like someone in trouble, Bruce stopped paying attention to him and looked at Lin Feng. At the moment Raymond Lam looked a little embarrassed. His hair was messy, his face was a little blue, but it was fading, and his battle suit had many tears and scratches. Without waiting for Bruce to say anything, Lin Feng said directly, "The situation has gotten worse, Bruce. After being controlled, Clark became much stronger than before, and the mother box was also taken away by them." Hearing this, Bruce's face darkened again. It was just as he expected. Diana also ran over. She keenly noticed Lin Feng's injuries. "Lin Feng, are you injured?" She dropped her weapon, moved forward and checked Lin Feng's wound. Under the damaged battle suit, there were wounds emitting a black and red aura, looking hideous and unwilling to heal. Blood was also slowly seeping out. Blackened plus the rage, Clark's heat ray is like magic, making it impossible for Lin Feng, who has the physique of Superman, to heal quickly. Lin Feng turned to look at Diana and smiled slightly. He nodded and said, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Then, he turned to look at Bruce and said, "I'm sorry, Bruce, I couldn't keep the mother box." Bruce just nodded calmly, "It's not your fault, Lin Feng, we still have a chance. Let's get on the fighter plane first. Tell me in detail what happened." Bruce really didn't mean to blame Lin Feng. It was not easy for Lin Feng to save Barry from Clark. Hearing Bruce's words, Lin Feng shook his head and prepared to treat his wound. Clark's black and red heat ray seems to be magical, making the healing of one's injuries extremely slow. "Let Barry tell you. He knows everything." Lin Feng said, "I'm going to outer space. Without the obstruction of the atmosphere, the strong solar radiation will make my wounds heal quickly." Lin Feng explained, "When I recover, I will come to find you." Bruce also knows the effect the sun has on Superman. So he nodded and said, "Okay, when you're ready, come to my base. This is the address of the base." Bruce took out a card from somewhere with a line of words written on it. "Hurry up, we don't have much time." Bruce added. Lin Feng took the card, nodded to Bruce and the others, then quickly took off and disappeared from everyone's sight. Chapter 34. Seeing Lin Feng flying away, several people looked at each other. I vaguely felt that Lin Feng's mood seemed a little off. Bruce said to Diana and others, "Give him some time." He then led a few people onto a fighter plane and flew towards the base. On the fighter plane, Bruce handed Barry a bottle of water. "Barry, tell me what happened in detail." Barry nodded and narrated what happened word by word. The thrilling and changeable process made several people frown. After a while, Barry finished his narration with a dry mouth, picked up the water bottle and started drinking it. Bruce concluded, "In other words, the controlled Clark has become even more powerful." Then when Lin Feng was fighting with Clark, Steppenwolf appeared and took away the mother box. Barry nodded. "That's about it. It's getting more and more difficult." Bruce's face was solemn. He thought that Lin Feng's appearance could compete with Clark. But I didn't expect Clark to become even more powerful, coupled with the threat of Steppenwolf. Bruce just felt a pain in his brow. The other people also fell into deep thought, digesting this information. Diana looked at the others and said, "It's not Lin Feng's fault that the mother box was stolen. This is beyond the expectations of all of us." As soon as these words came out, Bruce knew what Diana was worried about. She was afraid that she would blame Lin Feng for the mother box being stolen. He said affirmatively, "No one will blame Lin Feng. On the contrary, I have to thank Lin Feng. If it weren't for him, Barry and I might not be here anymore." Aquaman and Victor nodded in agreement. Indeed, Lin Feng was a great help. You can't blame Lin Feng for things that are beyond your expectations. If we have to blame someone, we can only blame the fighter jets for flying too slowly. If they had arrived earlier and used kryptonite to restrain Clark, the ending might be different now. "Things are not yet at the point where they cannot be reversed," said Victor, who had remained silent the whole time. "It will take some time to assemble 3 mother boxes. We still have a chance." Seeing several people looking over, Victor emphasized word by word, "This is also the last chance." In space, Lin Feng opened the green bottle and drank the remaining liquid in one gulp. The moment it entered the body, a huge amount of life force flowed through Lin Feng's veins throughout his body. With the help of the sun's radiation, the wounds burned by the heat rays are slowly healing. While recovering, Lin Feng was thinking about his next move. According to the plot in the original book, it takes a certain amount of time to assemble the 3 mother boxes. I remember that in the original book, it only took Steppenwolf a few hours to assemble the mother box. The 3 mother boxes were integrated together, and finally, with the help of Barry, Victor entered the mother box and separated the 3 mother boxes again. This is the original plot, in which Clark is one of us. And now, Clark is the enemy. The only biggest threat that needs to be dealt with is Superman Clark. I can only fly a kite towards Clark. But Clark now takes orders from Steppenwolf. If Clark didn't care about himself, he would just kill Batman and the others one by one. Then the mission will undoubtedly fail and the world will come to an end. The most important problem is how to fight against the crazy Clark. Lin Feng discovered that after going berserk, Clark liked to use heat ray attacks very much and did not throw many punches. So how to put kryptonite handcuffs on him has become a huge amount of problem. "Dog system!" Lin Feng shouted. "System, what? Is there any way to make me stronger temporarily?" Lin Feng asked, "Is there anything in the store that I can afford that can make me stronger in a short period of time?" "System, no. Such a large store doesn't even have a temporary buff." "System, I mean there is nothing you can afford." After hearing this, Lin Feng looked stunned and helpless. More than 10 million points can't afford a temporary buff? Do I really have to ride Clark's kite again? Okay, okay. I won't tease you anymore. The system's voice sounded again. Looking at Lin Feng's helpless and embarrassed look, the system laughed out loud. "The buff is there, but I have a better solution." In fact, the choice question that the host was asked to make before, whether to escape or stay, was to observe the host's character and sense of responsibility. To be precise, it is to confirm whether the host's 3 views are correct. This is a character test. If you pass the test, you will be given a system-bound gift pack for novices. Lin Feng was stunned when he heard this. His face suddenly became extremely strange. A gift pack for beginners? I'll tell you what's missing. Yet, why is there no novice gift pack when I bind the system? Shouldn't this be standard? So you're still going to do the whole character test? Lin Feng was speechless and angry, and wanted to curse. Are you childish? The dog system said, hey, this can't be blamed on this system, isn't it, because I haven't found an opportunity to test your character and sense of responsibility. When the host makes a choice, the system can detect the host's true thoughts and attitudes. The subconscious choice at this time can best reflect whether a person's three views are correct. You can feel it, right? If it weren't for Steppenwolf's appearance, you would have been pierced by Clark's magic heat ray in less than 3 minutes. Lin Feng nodded. Indeed, many parts of his body were injured by Clark's heat ray. The wound was extremely painful, but Lin Feng didn't even utter a word of pain. The system continued, host, don't underestimate this small test. If you fail the test, not only will you not get the novice gift package, but the system will also unbind you soon. As soon as these words came out, Lin Feng broke out in a cold sweat. He didn't expect that just a small choice would lead to such a different result. Fortunately, I passed the test, otherwise the system would be unbound. Who would I cry to? Okay, the novice gift pack is a special gift pack for Superman. It has been sent to the system warehouse. Host, go take a look, said the system. There's something in there that you need most right now. Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't wait to open the system warehouse. Sure enough, I saw a package sample shining with golden light. After clicking to open it, there are 4 gems of the same color, 2 by 2. There are also 2 silver wristbands with smooth surfaces and strange patterns. The last one is a card that shines with silver light. Lin Feng checked the properties of these items one by one. Special red kryptonite can significantly strengthen Superman's ability values in a short period of time, 4 hours. Special platinum kryptonite can allow ordinary people to have all the abilities of Superman for a short period of time, 2 hours. Superman wristband, made of special metal material, it can be inlaid with various ability gems and transmit the power of the gems to the wearer. Seeing this, Lin Feng's eyes almost lit up. Good stuff, all good stuff. Whether it is the wristband or the 2 kryptonite, it is almost a perfect match for Raymond Lamb. It is worthy of being a Superman gift pack, and all the items inside are related to Superman. When he saw the last silver card, Lin Feng fell silent. Immediately afterwards, Lin Feng's body continued to shake. Silver Superman Experience Card, as the name suggests, you can experience the powerful strength of Silver Superman, time limit 4 hours. Just by seeing the name on the card, you can tell how happy Raymond Lamb will be. If there was air in space, Lin Feng would have laughed out loud. Wow, isn't this a timely help? Silver Superman suddenly changed his shotgun into a cannon and his 3-wheeled vehicle into a Mercedes. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh like Barry. Life is full of ups and downs. Next time I see Clark, I'm going to beat him up 10 times. The Silver Superman in the comics often displays various incredible super abilities. This card of Lin Feng can only experience the basic abilities of Silver Superman, such as super flight and super stamina. But this was enough to defeat the furious Clark. There's not much to say about the 2 types of kryptonite. Platinum kryptonite can be worn by Susan and activated when in danger, and it can also make Lin Feng feel assured about Susan's safety. Not to mention the wrist guard, as you can tell from the description, it is basically worn for the convenience of kryptonite. After the joy, Lin Feng gradually calmed down. He thought for a moment, then took out a special red kryptonite and a Superman wristband from his backpack. There will be another battle between him and Clark. But this battle will not be as hasty as before. The Silver Superman Experience Card is very precious, and there is only one. Don't use it if you can. First use the special red kryptonite and see how far you can strengthen it. Plus, the green kryptonite has a much greater control over Clark than it does over Raymond Lamb. Even if you don't use the Silver Superman Experience Card, you're basically guaranteed to win, so there's no need to waste it. Chapter 35. The Superman wristband is silver white and about 3 or 4 centimeters wide. There are many horizontal and vertical lines on it. The color of the texture is very light, full of a sense of technology. Raymond Lamb tried to bring the special red kryptonite close to the Superman wristband. The next second, the surface of the Superman watch began to flow like water. Gradually an oval depression is formed. Lin Feng gently placed the kryptonite into the depression, and it was firmly sucked in an instant. The patterns on the wristband quickly turned into a glowing red. After about 2 or 3 seconds, the light slowly disappeared, but the lines had turned into a light dark red. It's a very magical wristband, just like Tony's nanotechnology in the movie Avengers Alliance 3, which can shapeshift at will. Raymond Lam said this is great. After putting the wristband on his left hand, it immediately adjusted its size to better fit Lin Feng's wrist. At the same time, instructions on how to use the wristband and a message prompt appeared in Lin Feng's mind. The hint was asking Raymond Lam whether he was using the special red kryptonite. After Lin Feng chose not to use it for the time being, he changed the color of the wristband to black. This is also one of the functions of the wrist guard. Raymond Lam likes black and is not very interested in silver. The black wristband is matched with dark red kryptonite and has faint dark red lines, which has a very good visual effect. It is worth mentioning. The moment he put on the wristband, Lin Feng discovered that the speed at which he was exposed to solar radiation had increased significantly. Lin Feng was a little surprised. This wristband could actually enhance his absorption of yellow fixed star radiation. What a pleasant surprise! While Lin Feng was studying the wristband, many of the wounds on his body had healed, leaving no trace of injury. Repaired the black Superman battlesuit for 10,000 reputation points. Lin Feng flew towards the blue star again. Following the address given by Bruce, Lin Feng quickly arrived at Bruce's base. At the moment several people were enjoying dinner in the restaurant. But their faces don't look very good. Lin Feng slowly landed, attracting the attention of several people. He looked at Bruce and the others and smiled, "Hey, guys, is there a share for me?" Seeing Lin Feng coming back, Bruce relaxed a little and joked, "Does Superman still need to eat?" Lin Feng laughed and sat down next to Diana. It's better to be next to a beautiful woman than to be next to a few muscular men, isn't it? Definitely, food is more than just filling your stomach. The butler Afu brought a plate and placed it in front of Lin Feng. "Master Lin Feng, your dinner." "Thanks, Alfred." Lin Feng smiled and nodded to express his gratitude. "Lin Feng, are you healed?" Seeing that Lin Feng acted as if nothing had happened, Diana couldn't help but ask a question. Lin Feng nodded at her, "It's nothing serious now. How is the situation now? Have you found the location of Steppenwolf?" This sentence silenced everyone again. They had no means to find the mother box. Unlike Steppenwolf, he can perceive the mother box after it is activated. Bruce shook his head, and Victor said, "I can feel the mother box, but I can't see where it is." "Okay." Lin Feng smacked his lips. He was not surprised. "I might know where they are." As soon as these words were spoken, several people put down their knives and forks and stared at Lin Feng closely, waiting for him to continue speaking. The abandoned nuclear power plant in the northern Bear Country. Seeing several people staring at him, Lin Feng calmly said an address. Batman and the others looked at each other. Lin Feng would not joke at this time. Diana knew something about that place. She confirmed, the nuclear power plant where the accident happened 30 years ago. Lin Feng nodded. Barry couldn't help but interject, "Even the soldiers can't get into that place. The strong radiation can make you grow another foot on your neck." "You're right, Barry." Lin Feng nodded and said, "But the radiation is gone now. Steppenwolf collected radiation to build his base." "Bruce, don't you have a satellite? Just take a look and you'll know." After hearing what Lin Feng said, Bruce got up and left without even eating. Several people looked at each other and followed. Why eat at this time? The blue planet is about to be destroyed. If we don't stop the power of unity, this meal will be the last supper. Bruce led everyone to a workshop and started operating a pile of instruments. Soon, the screen lit up. One data after another slid by, and soon, the nuclear power plant in the northern Bear Country was located. People can see through satellites that the shape of the nuclear power plant has changed. "It's here," said Diana. "What is he building?" Aquaman didn't quite understand. Satellite images show huge amounts of a barrier-like structure over the nuclear power plant. The barrier covers the entire nuclear power plant. It should be a layer of protection, protecting the unified power inside. Bruce's face was solemn. "This is the barrier created by the integration of the mother box. The best way is to attack from above." Diana turned to look at Bruce and asked, "Then how do we separate the mother boxes?" "Explosives cannot separate the mother boxes, they can only bring energy to the mother boxes, strengthening them. Indeed, the mother box can absorb and transform energy, and it is impossible to separate the mother box with conventional explosives. Not very realistic." At this time, Victor in the mechanical body stepped forward and said in a deep voice, "I'll do it." As soon as the words fell, everyone looked at Victor. Victor nodded and explained in a deep voice, I will enter the mother box and merge with them. Weaken their connection, so that we can separate them. Diana shook her head, this is not a good idea. You need to face the unified force alone, and you don't know what will happen inside. Do you have a better idea? Victor looked at Diana calmly. Diana stared at Victor seriously and said, the power of 3 mother boxes is enough to destroy the world. If you show any weakness, they will get into your head and destroy you. Victor said indifferently, just let me in and buy some time. You're going to die, Victor. If we don't do this, we'll all die. You wanted me to use my super abilities, right? Now is the time to use them. I lost everything, I have nothing to fear, Victor said. Although the current plot is somewhat different from the original. But Victor's father still passed away. Having lost his last relative, Victor has been trying hard to suppress his emotions. He needs to vent and take revenge now. Diana stopped talking, she didn't know what to say. All right. In that case, should we prepare to attack Steppenwolf's base? Barry said. Aquaman stepped forward and agreed, that's right, go deep into hell and fight the devil and his army. Barry was still a little worried, the Steppenwolf you are talking about, he has probably fought thousands of superheroes in the thousands of planets he destroyed, right? Assuming he wins, our chances of winning. I don't care how many demons he fought in how many hells. Bruce interrupted Barry directly. At the moment his eyes were full of firm belief. He never beat us. We are united. After hearing Bruce's firm words, everyone fell silent, looked at each other, and nodded. Okay, I have one last question. Do we still have to face Clark? Barry asked with some fear. Clark used to be his idol, but now this idol has become his nightmare. As far as he knows, no one on Blue Planet has the courage to face Superman. Not to mention that Clark is now even more powerful. After Barry asked this question, several people couldn't help but look at Lin Feng, who had been silent. The meaning is self-evident. In this team, the only one who can face Clark directly is Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded and said, it's not a big problem. I'll hold Clark back. Diana. Give the kryptonite weapon to Barry. While I'm holding Clark back, Barry, you put the kryptonite handcuffs on him. Very good solution, but Barry is a little skeptical. When he heard Lin Feng calling his name and asking him to handcuff Clark, a trace of fear flashed uncontrollably in his heart. Me? Oh man, no. It's okay. I just asked you to use the speed force to handcuff him. It's very simple. As Lin Feng spoke, he walked up and patted Barry on the shoulder. Besides, I'll hold Clark back. You can do that, right? Man, believe in yourself, you're a superhero. Lin Feng's words made Barry a little flattered. He muttered dully, I am a superhero, I am a superhero. It's not Barry's fault. When a Superman calls him a superhero, it's inevitable that Barry would be excited from the bottom of his heart. Seeing that Lin Feng had fooled Barry, Diana shook her head and laughed. Lin Feng is right. Lin Feng held Clark down and Barry handcuffed him. This was the simplest and least risky course of action for Barry. Putting the lead box into Barry's hands, Diana smiled and said, it's up to you, superhero. Barry can no longer find himself. Bruce found this scene a little funny. At least the atmosphere before the war was good, wasn't it? Okay, it's time for us to get going. Chapter 36. In the abandoned nuclear power plant, the red energy rising into the sky formed a barrier. 3 mother boxes floated in front of Steppenwolf, and next to him stood Clark with red eyes. Finally this moment has come. I have been waiting for so long. The Steppenwolf was as pious as if he was performing some ritual. Get ready for his arrival. I will be redeemed. Steppenwolf couldn't suppress his excitement, he had been waiting for this moment for too long. Integrate. Become one. The 3 mother boxes collided with each other, emitting dazzling light. Under Steppenwolf's expectant gaze, the mother box began the integration process. Integrate sent out a sound wave that quickly spread across the globe, as if foreshadowing something. At the same time, the Atlanteans and the daughters of Amazon all looked in the direction of the mother box in a daze. A feeling of palpitations, accompanied by a breath of despair, came towards me. Inside the nuclear power plant, demon-like creatures flew down one after another. They knelt respectfully in front of the mother box, waiting for Darkseid's arrival. Just as the demons knelt down. Boom! There was a roar of artillery shells, followed by a second and a third. The red barrier above his head vibrated violently. Steppenwolf looked up. A big hole had been blasted in the barrier, and a huge black fighter plane broke in. It's Batman and others. The annoying bugs are coming. Steppenwolf picked up the axe. Daring to disturb Darkseid's arrival at this time, he successfully ignited Steppenwolf's anger. Clark, shouted Steppenwolf. Leave no one behind. At the command, Clark's eyes glowed red and he fired a heat ray at the fighter plane. However, another heat ray came from the side. Before the fighter plane was hit, Clark was shot down. It was Lin Feng, he got off the fighter plane early. The fighter plane landed smoothly, and Batman, Diana and others jumped out of the fighter plane one after another. Lin Feng went straight to Clark. Barry hid behind a building and took out the kryptonite handcuffs, constantly cheering himself up. Batman, Diana and Victor moved forward against Steppenwolf. Countless demon-like creatures slowed down the few people's progress. Steppenwolf shouted, Clark! End the battle as soon as possible. Roar! Clark roared when he received the order. I saw his muscles swell again. In a flash, the violent Clark from a few days ago reappeared. With a ferocious face facing Lin Feng, Clark exerted force on his feet and flew towards Lin Feng with a thud. Well done! Lin Feng shouted in his heart, and the Superman wristband on his wrist lit up with a dazzling red light. A huge amount of energy poured into Raymond Lam's Superman body. Although the energy was pouring in, Lin Feng felt more powerful than ever before. The special red kryptonite more than doubled Lin Feng's ability. He remembered a sentence. You are being strengthened. Come on. Lin Feng punched Clark. Clark, who had easily beaten Lin Feng during the day, was knocked away by this punch and crashed into a building not far away. Immediately afterwards, a thick, almost tangible heat ray hit Clark. Lin Feng's heat ray directly pushed Clark and made a hole in the building. It made Clark fly directly out of the nuclear power plant. I'll kill you while you're sick. Lin Feng leaped out of the hole and chased after Clark. Barry stared at the huge hole in amazement. What's going on? Lin Feng has also become stronger. Coming to his senses, Barry disappeared instantly and ran out after Lin Feng. He did not forget that his mission was to assist Lin Feng and put kryptonite handcuffs on Clark. Roar! Clark, who was knocked flying, roared again and stabilized his body in the air. Although Lin Feng's heat ray did not cause him fatal damage, it caused him severe pain. Clark got angry and a black and red heat ray shot out instantly. Lin Feng did not back down and fired a red heat ray at the opponent. Two heat rays met in the air, just like the scene in daytime. However, the difference is that this time, Raymond Lam and heat ray did not retreat at all. The enormous energy brought by red kryptonite seems to be inexhaustible. It constantly poured into Lin Feng's body. Bang! A violent explosion occurred at the heat ray docking point, bringing about a strong hurricane. Seeing that the heat ray failed, Clark rushed towards Lin Feng again and punched him. Lin Feng easily dodged sideways and responded with a powerful punch. With a bang, Clark was knocked flying again and hit the ground directly. Clark, who has no self-awareness, seems to have lost his combat experience. Lin Feng seized the opportunity and followed closely. He walked around behind Clark, put his hands under Clark's armpits and embraced him from behind. It's just an overhead operation to control Clark. At the same time he shouted, Barry! Now! Clark's power is so great that Lin Feng cannot control him for too long. The opportunity was fleeting. When Barry heard Lin Feng's call, he was calm and cautious as never before. Lightning flashed on his body, and everything around him slowed down, as if it was still. As Barry ran, he took out kryptonite handcuffs from a lead box and rushed towards Clark. A horrifying scene appeared, and Clark actually turned his head slowly. The dark red light in his eyes appeared again and was aimed at Barry. Under Barry's horrified gaze, Lin Feng took the initiative to attack. He headbutted Clark on the back of the head. Clark's head dropped suddenly. The heat ray is disconnected. Barry ran to Clark, but he didn't have the courage to look at Clark's hideous face. A pair of kryptonite handcuffs clicked and were put on Clark's wrists. At the same time, he didn't have time to stop the sprint, and directly knocked Clark and Lin Feng away, and then Barry withdrew from the speed force. Roar! Clark roared again and then knelt down. At the moment the bulging veins on his arm slowly turned green. The whole body began to shake uncontrollably. The kryptonite handcuffs are in effect. Clark lost his fighting ability and knelt on the ground screaming in pain. Lin Feng breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Barry. Well done, Barry. The process went very smoothly without any accidents. After the failure during the day, Lin Feng was keeping an eye on all directions. I was afraid that something unexpected would happen and give me a head-on blow. There was no time to rest. Batman and the others were still fighting Steppenwolf, and he had to go back to help. You wait here for Victor's signal, I'm going to meet Steppenwolf. Lin Feng said to Barry again. Victor requires huge amounts of power to get inside the mother box. And this requires Barry to run at close to the speed of light to assist Victor. Seeing Barry nodded in agreement, Lin Feng immediately took off and flew back to the nuclear power plant. Inside the nuclear power plant, Bruce constantly wandered among the demons, destroying them. The demons are vulnerable in the hands of Batman. It's just that there are too many of them, which makes Bruce feel a little tricky. Victor was standing in front of the mother box, creating multiple black lines with his hands, trying to enter the interior of the mother box. Diana and Aquaman are besieging Steppenwolf, but the situation is not going well. The Steppenwolf was too powerful for both of them. With one blow of the axe, Aquaman was knocked flying and fell to the ground. I couldn't get up for a long time. Aquaman was speechless. Ever since Steppenwolf came to Earth, it seems like he has been beaten. The wolf was about to raise his axe and chop Diana again. Lin Feng rushed forward and kicked out. His speed was faster than the speed of sound. With one kick, the Steppenwolf was embedded in the wall. Helping Diana up, Lin Feng looked up and shouted, Victor. Barry is ready. How are you? Right away. Victor was cheered up after hearing the news and quickened his movements. Diana panted and looked at Lin Feng. How is Clark? Lin Feng smiled and replied, it went very smoothly. I have already lost my fighting ability. Real. Hearing that Clark had lost his fighting ability, Diana couldn't help but show joy on her face. This is the best good news since the Steppenwolf invaded Blue Star. Steppenwolf has lost its greatest fighting power. The balance of victory has tilted towards humanity. Chapter 37. Steppenwolf fell off the wall, panting. As soon as Raymond Lam appeared, he saw Raymond Lam's Superman battlesuit. Originally he didn't pay much attention to this new Kryptonian. After all, he still has Clark, a powerful weapon. However, after the two people went out, only Lin Feng came back. This gave Steppenwolf a vague feeling of uneasiness. Clark? Steppenwolf yelled. Clark? Where have you been? After calling twice and seeing that Clark still didn't show up, Steppenwolf's face turned ugly. After a moment's hesitation, Steppenwolf took out a black box. This is the magic weapon he uses to control Clark. From a mysterious man who works with his master, Darkseid. The black box was not damaged at all. The surrounding black aura did not disappear. In other words, he did not lose control of Clark. Steppenwolf couldn't figure it out. Why didn't Clark show up? Seeing the Steppenwolf yelling there, Lin Feng slowly floated over. Seeing Lin Feng wearing the black Superman battlesuit, Steppenwolf's expression became even uglier. Another Kryptonian. Lin Feng crossed his arms and snorted coldly. Don't shout, Clark has returned to normal. He is no longer under your control. Steppenwolf, this is impossible. Steppenwolf looked at the box in his hand again and found it was intact. Oh. Lin Feng tilted his head and smiled, you don't believe it. Then why didn't Clark show up? Steppenwolf couldn't refute it. He knew that what the Kryptonian said was most likely true. Damn Kryptonians! Steppenwolf cursed with a gloomy face. He thought of the black-robed human who had given him the black box. That human in black robes. I knew he couldn't be trusted. Steppenwolf angrily threw the black box to the ground and stepped on it. What's the point of this thing now that Clark has lost control? Kayla. The box shattered and a wisp of black smoke drifted away in the wind. In an instant, a cold wind blew past, as if something had been resolved. Lin Feng looked at the crushed box, his eyes flashed, and he had some guesses in his mind. Could this be what the system said, that it can control Clark's magic weapon? Sure enough, the next second, Barry's voice sounded in the headset. Hey guys! Clark seems to be back to normal. For a moment, Lin Feng's expression was extremely wonderful. Barry, this is Lin Feng. Lin Feng called into the headset. Take the kryptonite handcuffs off him. Do you want to pick it now? Do you want to confirm it again? Barry was a little hesitant. He saw the dark red light in Clark's eyes fade away. The green glowing lien also turned back to its normal color. But he was still a little afraid to take off the handcuffs. He was afraid that if he took off the handcuffs, Clark would punch him again. Obviously, Barry has developed a psychological trauma towards Clark. Hearing Barry's hesitation, Lin Feng couldn't help but want to laugh. Don't worry, Barry. I have confirmed that the thing controlling Clark has been destroyed. Lin Feng's words were like a reassurance. Barry breathed a sigh of relief. Thank God, I'll take it off for him right away. After hearing the conversation between Lin Feng and his teammates, Steppenwolf was confused at first, and then suddenly came to his senses. He was fooled. Clark was only temporarily restrained and did not lose control. And he personally destroyed the black box that controlled Clark. You deserve to die. He angrily raised the axe and rushed towards Lin Feng. Steppenwolf yelled for Darkseid. I saw an axe coming towards me. Lin Feng was about to dodge, but then he seemed to think of something. He stayed where he was, just turning his head to the side. He wanted to restore the plot in the original book. I don't know if this can be considered as helping to close the world line. Bang! Steppenwolf's battle axe chopped Lin Feng's left shoulder. Lin Feng just felt like being hit by a baby with a stick. No injuries at all, not even a hint of pain. Nothing more. Lin Feng sneered and imitated the original author, turning his head slightly and exhaling a breath of cold air towards the battle axe. The battle axe froze at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang! Lin Feng smashed the battle axe into pieces with one punch. The Steppenwolf looked at his hands in disbelief, then looked at Lin Feng. In panic, he was about to punch, but Lin Feng suddenly kicked him far away. The Steppenwolf fell to the ground and hammered the ground angrily. He stood up and rushed towards Lin Feng again. Lin Feng was not afraid at all and flew towards it. The attacks of the Steppenwolf had no effect on his defense. The Steppenwolf swung out its claws and grabbed Lin Feng. However, in Lin Feng's eyes, it was as if it was in slow motion and he dodged it easily. He punched out and the Steppenwolf was knocked away again, flying straight towards Diana. Seeing the Steppenwolf flying towards her, Diana shouted loudly. The two protective silver bracelets collided violently. Buzz! With a crisp sound, the sound waves spread out, and Steppenwolf was knocked away again, falling towards Aquaman. Seeing the situation, Aquaman swept through the enemy troops. He swung the trident in his hand hard on the wolf's waist. The Steppenwolf flew out like a volleyball and returned to Lin Feng's direction. He was hit around like a volleyball by several people and was helpless. Lin Feng faced the Steppenwolf and punched it directly into the sky. The figure then rose rapidly, surpassing Steppenwolf in the air, and punched him to the ground. It is developed completely according to the original movie. Before Steppenwolf could get up, Lin Feng came down and punched out again. Then his eyes glowed brightly red, and he fired a heat ray at the Steppenwolf. The Steppenwolf howled in pain. The armor on his body constantly disintegrated under the high temperature of the heat ray. The scorching temperature of the heat ray directly swept off one of the horns of the Steppenwolf, causing the Steppenwolf to scream again in pain. After another punch, Steppenwolf was completely stunned and couldn't recover for a long time. After defeating Steppenwolf, Victor also connected to the power of unity. Barry! I'm connected to the unified force, he yelled. I need a lot of electric current to get in. Victor's face was grim. He can only connect to the unified force for a short time and needs Barry's help to enter the mother box. Immediately, Barry, who was circling outside, received the message. He rushed straight towards Victor with a blue and white electric light. Clark flew behind him, providing protection. Barry, where are you? Victor seemed not to hear Barry's answer and kept calling out. The mother box is about to be integrated together, and he can't get in without electricity. Barry was still running with his head down, constantly cheering himself up. Buzz! Just when the mother box is about to be fully integrated, a round blue portal appeared not far from the mother box with a sound. Lin Feng, Diana, and Aquaman all stepped forward and looked at the portal warily. Lin Feng knew in his heart that it must be Darkseid who had arrived. The portal gradually took shape, revealing the scene inside. As expected, several monsters on the other side of the portal turned around. It was Darkseid and his two men. Host, be careful. It's the Exile. The system's voice suddenly jumped out. The system's words made Lin Feng's pupil shrink. He noticed someone next to Darkseid. That was a character that did not exist in the original novel, and he was covered in a black robe. I couldn't see the face, and couldn't tell whether it was a man or a woman. Lin Feng knew in his heart that he should be the exile mentioned by the system. Seeing Lin Feng looking over, the man in black robe seemed to notice his gaze. Lin Feng used his perspective ability, but he couldn't see through the black robe at all, which made him feel depressed. The system was not exaggerating. His perspective ability was actually unable to see through the exile's outer garment. In the portal, Darkseid looked at the scene outside with an expressionless face. A Kryptonian, a woman with the powers of the old gods, and an Atlantean with a trident. This reminded him of the Great War that happened long ago. He was waiting for the mother box to be fully integrated before stepping out of the portal. Darkseid noticed that Victor was trying his best to stop the integration of the mother box, but he was very calm in his heart. He didn't think at all that the Blue Star civilization could prevent the integration of the mother box. Look, isn't this going to fail soon? Darkseid has been searching for the anti-life program for countless years. He didn't mind waiting a little longer. Barry! Victor shouted again in a cold sweat. It's almost too late. The integration will be completed soon. The words just came out. The next second, time seemed to stand still. Almost everyone stood still. Lin Feng's mind moved, he had super speed. I realized instantly that it was Barry coming in. Turn around and look. Sure enough, Barry came running in from outside the nuclear power plant. Above him, Clark, the restored Superman, was protecting him. Seeing Lin Feng looking over, Clark looked at him with a complicated expression. Then he nodded and continued to follow Barry. In the original book, Barry was hit by a demon, which almost led to the destruction of Blue Planet. But with Superman's protection, Barry did not make the same mistake again. He successfully touched Victor and transferred the electricity to him. In an instant, Barry entered the mother box. He was not fooled by the trap inside the mother box, and forcibly pulled the three human figures transformed by the mother boxes to both sides. All this happened in a flash. By the time everyone reacted, the mother box that was about to integrate was split into three again, returning to the state when it first integrated. Chapter 38. Lin Feng. Victor shouted his power alone cannot sever the power that connects them. Raymond Lam, who has read the original novel, definitely understands what he means. He dodged and rushed over, pushing the two mother boxes with both hands, exerting force outwards. Raymond Lam, blessed by red kryptonite, is much stronger than Clark in the original novel. There was a bang. Without much effort, the connection between the three mother boxes was instantly disconnected and fell to the ground. Back to an active state at the moment, Steppenwolf finally recovered a little and stood up. He touched his head, his hands were covered in blood, and he felt a pain and dizziness. The scales on the upper body have been broken by the heat ray, revealing the body behind the neighbor. Darkseid stood behind the portal and looked at him coldly. The mother box also returned to an inactive state, announcing his failure. Steppenwolf felt that he had lost all face. Once again, he was embarrassed in front of his master. Roar! He yelled angrily at Lin Feng and the others, feeling very unwilling. He destroyed countless worlds, but died on a tiny blue planet. Even under Darkseid's gaze, he was in such a mess. He could only roar helplessly, venting the anger in his heart. The next second, the roar stopped abruptly. Aquaman, who doesn't follow martial ethics, directly uses a halberd from behind. The Steppenwolf was stabbed to death. Blood flowed down the trident, and severe pain swept through the Steppenwolf's body. Punch Steppenwolf towards the portal. Diana took over, jumped up and chopped off the ugly head of Steppenwolf. Under the small combo of everyone, the body and head of the Steppenwolf fell into the portal separately. I rolled a few times. Darkseid stepped on the still rolling head and exerted great force. The only remaining horn of the Steppenwolf was stepped on and broken, the light in its eyes disappeared, and it stopped breathing. This battle to invade Blue Star ended with Blue Star's complete victory. Lin Feng, Batman, Diana, and others walked to the portal and looked at Darkseid from a distance. The meaning is very clear: if you come, you will stay here forever. Darkseid was panting, furious. He failed again. The mother box was separated, and the portal that lost its energy slowly closed. No one noticed that a black line so thin that it was almost invisible quietly avoided everyone's sight and penetrated into Lin Feng's body. Watching the portal close, Darkseid turned his head to look at the figure beside him, who was completely covered in a black robe. He suppressed his anger. Exile. Is this what you meant by no accidents? A harsh and sharp voice came from under the black robe, "Are you questioning me, Darkseid?" Darkseid stared at the black robe with anger and said nothing more. He still had a place for the exile and didn't want to irritate him. "Don't worry," the exile's sharp voice sounded again, "that troublemaker will not have an easy time." After saying that, the exile slowly disappeared from the spot, leaving Darkseid with nowhere to vent his anger. "I've already said it," Darkseid said in a deep voice, "Steppenwolf will fail." "My lord, the mother box is now destroyed. How do you get your big prize back?" Darkseid gave him a cold look and said, "The anti-life program has been found, and I will get it at all costs. Even if you use the old-fashioned method." As the portal closed, Lin Feng heard the pleasant reward sound from the system. "Congratulations to the host for successfully completing the mission of saving the DC world. Now settle the rewards." The host has obtained 10 million reputation points for this mission. Evaluation of this mission, Grade A, Reward, 10 million reputation points. Gift from the world, 8 million points. The host has gained a total of 28 million reputation points. Nice. Raymond Lam was surprised. "I didn't expect to be given so much reputation points. 28 million points for each foot. As expected, high risk means high reward." Lin Feng sighed, he made a lot of money this time. Add to that the original 10 million. Lin Feng now has a reputation value of over 40 million. The exchange for the Silver Superman template is just around the corner. The threat from Blue Star finally dissipated, and Batman and his friends gradually relaxed. A sense of responsibility and honor drives them to resist every disaster on the blue planet. Everyone gathered and walked up to the tower to welcome the dawn. Facing the rising sun, Clark walked forward and stood in front of everyone. He said with some guilt, "I'm sorry, everyone. I saw everything I did and it's hard for me to believe that I did it." Clark lowered his head, his heart filled with guilt. Although he was controlled, all the memories of what he had done remained in his mind. He felt very ashamed. Everyone looked at each other and understood. No one blamed Clark. Clark was controlled, and everything he did was not his will. Diana stepped forward and consoled him, "It's not your fault, Clark. We all know that you are being controlled. It's not your fault." Clark looked up at Diana, her eyes were full of sincerity. This made Clark feel a little less guilty. Bruce also stepped forward, he stretched out his hand, but stopped in midair after a moment of hesitation. He patted Clark's shoulder gently. "Just come back. Clark." "Bruce." He remembered that he almost killed Bruce with a heat ray. Barry also took 2 steps forward and looked at Clark with sincere eyes, "As long as you change back. You are still my idol." Aquaman and Victor were not familiar with Clark and just nodded at him. "You guys." Clark felt mixed emotions when he felt that they didn't blame him. Finally, Clark looked at the man who had been fighting with him. "But I have never seen it, my fellow countrymen." Seeing Clark looking over, Lin Feng walked forward with a smile and extended his hand. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Lin Feng." Clark stretched out his hand and shook his, saying uncertainly, "Are you a Kryptonian too?" Lin Feng nodded and shook his head. He knew how lonely Clark was. He was the only one left in his race. This kind of loneliness was not something that most people could bear. Seeing Clark's confusion, Raymond Lam explained, "I do have Kryptonian blood. But I'm not a Kryptonian from this universe. I'm from another universe." Hearing Lin Feng's answer, Clark was a little dazed. "Can you tell me, in detail?" Clark requested. "Definitely, Clark. But I think we all need to rest first. Besides, you should go back and see Martha and Louise first." As soon as Lin Feng finished speaking, Clark immediately thought of his mother and his girlfriend. "Yes, I want to meet them. He has been resurrected. This is his second chance. He wants to go back to see his mother. She still has to go through with his proposal, and Louise hasn't told him the answer yet." Looking at Batman and the others again, Clark's meaning was clear. Batman took a step forward and patted his shoulder again. "Go, Clark. Go meet them first. Then take a good rest. Once you've rested, come find us at the base." Clark nodded, then soared into the sky and disappeared from everyone's sight. Clark left. Bruce looked at Lin Feng. "Lin, do you want to stay in my villa for a few days? You're not going back now, are you? Let us entertain you for some time." Lin Feng played a leading role in this invasion. Without him restraining Clark, the chances of winning would be close to 0. Diana also said, "Yes, Lin Feng, how about I take you around the metropolis? I know a lot of delicious food. I can take you to taste them. Barry also came over and said. Seeing that several people invited him enthusiastically, Lin Feng nodded. He smiled and said, okay. I'll stay here for a few days. Besides, I still need to tell Clark about Krypton. He decided to answer some questions for Clark about Kryptonians. There are many Kryptonians in countless universes, and he wants Clark to know about these existences. Clark no longer feels like the only survivor of his species. I'll trouble you guys for the next few days. Lin Feng asked. Hearing this, everyone smiled and nodded. It's no trouble at all, Lin. Diana said with a smile. Let's go back and take a rest first. I think everyone is tired. Bruce arranged. He hammered his waist, feeling some pain from being hit by the demon-like weapon. I need food to prepare some cold compresses for me. Chapter 39. The fighter plane has crashed. Fortunately, Bruce contacted another helicopter. It was already noon when everyone returned to Bruce's base. After lunch, Bruce arranged several rooms for everyone to rest. After 2 days of fighting, even his physique is several times stronger than that of an ordinary person. You will also feel tired. Several people did not refuse and expressed their gratitude. However, Lin Feng did not rest in Bruce's manner. He asked Bruce for some money and flew away alone. Lin Feng chose a beach when he left. He wore sunglasses and lay on a beach chair, basking in the sun while listening to the sound of the waves. Just basking in the sun can replenish your physical strength and energy. Very convenient. The sea breeze blew, and from time to time the cries of seagulls and the whispers of beach tourists could be heard. Raymond Lam really enjoyed this atmosphere. If only Susan were here at this moment. When you go back, take Susan to the beach. Thinking of Susan, Lin Feng suddenly remembered the Superman wristband on his wrist. He planned to give the other Superman wristband to Susan when he returned. Add another platinum kryptonite. This way there is no need to worry about Susan's safety. The wristband can also be adjusted into a couple's style. Raymond Lam likes this wristband. Bored and basking in the sun, Lin Feng browsed the system store. He wanted to see if the store sold any special kryptonite. Used it once, the effect is really good. If you have any, consider buying a few extra just in case. Open the store. Black Widow's original underwear. Today's special offer, 5 reputation points. Lin Feng's mouth twitched. He remembered that this used to sell for 10 reputation points. Just ignore it and look for what you need. After searching for a long time, he finally found it. Special red kryptonite, 1 piece for 1 million reputation points. Special platinum kryptonite, 2 million reputation per piece. The price is moderate, not too expensive. Platinum kryptonite can allow an ordinary person to have Superman's abilities within 2 hours. To be honest, it's not expensive. Continue scrolling down, there are several types of kryptonite alone. Lin Feng saw the cheapest piece of kryptonite among them. Special gold kryptonite, 200,000 reputation points per piece. Effect, will cause the wearer to lose all Superman abilities, and the effect lasts for 12 hours. Lin Feng. How come there is such a kryptonite? System, why can't I find the Superman wristband? Lin Feng searched for a long time but couldn't find the Superman wristband, so he asked. Why are you looking for him? Didn't the gift package give you 2? I wonder if it would be more powerful if I brought a few more and put a couple more kryptonite in it. No, host. What if I wear 2 wrist guards? What will happen if I have platinum kryptonite in my left hand and gold kryptonite in my right hand? Lin Feng's imagination opened up. Gold kryptonite will eliminate all of Superman's abilities. Platinum kryptonite can give ordinary people the ability of Superman. So what happens if you wear them at the same time? Once this curiosity arises, you can't help but want to try it out. The system has a face full of black question marks. Why don't you try it? Hearing this, Lin Feng looked at the gold kryptonite in the store with some hesitation. Fingers moving up and down, wondering whether to buy or not. In the end, I gave up on buying it. Forget it. Lin Feng sighed, what if it explodes? It would be a waste. It's not worth wasting millions of reputation points just for this curiosity. By the way, system, do you have any Superman wristbands for sale? Why can't I find any? The system popped up, Superman wristband is in the level 2 store, the price is 2 million reputation points per piece. Why is a wristband so expensive? Lin Feng frowned and asked in confusion. In addition to installing the gem effect, the rest of the Superman wristband is to improve its efficiency in receiving solar radiation. Raymond Lam thinks this is the only function. It's not worth 2 million reputation points. The system quickly answered Lin Feng's questions. This price is not expensive, the system said. Superman wrist guards are several times stronger than vibranium. The wrist guard has a certain deformation ability. When it is fully unfolded, it can cover your entire forearm. This will increase your efficiency in receiving solar radiation several times. Hearing this, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. There is such a function. Lin Feng looked at the wristband in his hand and his mind moved. In an instant, the wristband flowed up Lin Feng's wrist like water. Soon it covered Lin Feng's entire forearm. It's like wearing a black sleeve. Lin Feng was cheered up, as expected. The efficiency of receiving radiation has been improved, which is several times faster than the previous wristband form. Nice one. Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction, but this seemed to be more than 2 million reputation points, right? It seemed that he sensed Lin Feng's doubts. The system came out again to explain, host, your Superman wristband can hold more than just kryptonite. It can also hold all 6 infinity stones. Lin Feng was a little surprised, but only for a moment. Can't Iron Man also make gloves inlaid with raw stones? Okay, you can choose not to buy it. The system seemed to be speechless. He said this and stopped talking. Lin Feng rolled his eyes. What an unscrupulous businessman. He continued to look around the store and saw many items on sale that he had never seen before. Useful and useless, the value ranges from a few reputation points to millions of reputation points. Even saw the Mk50 Nano battlesuit created by Tony Stark. But it's in the secondary store, the icon is grey and I can't buy it. Lin Feng smacked his lips and planned to buy a set to play with once the level 2 store permissions were opened. There is hardly any boy who can resist the temptation of a steel battlesuit. Raymond Lam is no exception. Suddenly, when Lin Feng was looking through the store, looking for any other strange products, the tourists on the beach suddenly became agitated and interrupted Raymond Lam's shopping. It's Superman. It's really Superman. Superman is coming. The tourists looked up at the sky and cried out. Lin Feng's mind moved, and he also heard the unusual tearing air sounds. When he looked up, Clark had already flown above his head. He was not wearing a Superman battlesuit, but rather home clothes. Lin Feng looked at him with some confusion. What is Clark doing? Clark landed, smiled at the tourists who gathered around him, then turned to look at Lin Feng. I'm sorry to find you this way, but I asked Bruce, and he said you don't have any contact information. Lin Feng scratched his head. Well, he certainly didn't bring any communication equipment like a cell phone. It is not easy for these people to find me, let alone contact me. Okay. Clark, Lin Feng shrugged and asked, what do you want to talk to me about? Clark nodded, you said you wanted to tell me something about Kryptonians. So urgent. Lin Feng didn't expect that Clark would come to him again in just half a day. Clark nodded again and said apologetically, I didn't know when you were leaving, Lin. After Clark returned home and met his mother and girlfriend, he didn't stay with them for long before he found Raymond Lam again. I can accompany my family anytime after Raymond Lam leaves. Lin Feng didn't say when he would leave, and Clark was afraid of missing this opportunity, so he rushed over. This made sense and Lin Feng couldn't refute it. Okay. I don't have anything to do right now anyway, Lin Feng stood up. Chat here. Tourists on the beach surrounded the two people in 3 layers. However, their awe and fear of Clark made them afraid to move forward. Definitely not, follow me. After saying that, Clark floated into the sky and flew in one direction. Seeing this, Lin Feng shook his head, slowly rose into the air and followed. The tourists who were left standing there were all stunned. There are 2 Supermen. Chapter 40. Lin Feng didn't expect that Clark would take him to the farm. The farm that his mother had taken away by the bank because she couldn't repay the loan. Clark landed, opened the door and invited Lin Feng in. Lin Feng stepped into the house and found that most of the furniture was gone. Fortunately, there was a table and a few chairs. Clark said a little embarrassedly, Bruce helped me with the formalities. I will be able to live here again soon, please sit down first. I'll pour you a cup of coffee. Clark pointed at the chair and signaled Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't mind, he sat down and looked around the place where Clark had lived since he was a child. What about my aunt? Lin Feng asked. She's with Louise. Once the formalities are completed, we still need to move all the furniture back. Lin Feng nodded. The environment where Clark lived was very good. A two-story house located on a farm. Lin Feng once wanted to live such a life. But before I traveled through time, I couldn't afford such a place. However, with the help of his friends who own a lot of dogs, Raymond Lam now has a bigger home. But there is no more natural and comfortable environment like Clark. Coffee. Clark came over with 2 cups of coffee and sat opposite Lin Feng. Lin Feng picked it up and took a sip. It was very hot. But for Superman, this is nothing. Putting down the cup, Lin Feng nodded at Clark. Ask whatever you want to ask. I'll tell you everything I know. Clark held the coffee on the table and said hesitantly, I want to know, am I really the only one in the world with Kryptonian blood? Clark once broke Zed's neck to save Blue Star. For Blue Star, this is the right thing to do. However, to the Kryptonians, Clark was the culprit who killed the last of his fellow Kryptonians. Definitely, not including Clark himself. This left Clark confused for a long time, and a feeling of loneliness lasted for a long time. Fortunately, he still had Martha and Louise to keep him company. Otherwise, Clark didn't know whether he would be able to get out of confusion. Maybe he would, but he didn't know how long it would take. Lin Feng had anticipated Clark's question. Clark's question was not surprising at all. As far as I know, you are the only Kryptonian left in this universe. Hearing Lin Feng's answer, a hint of disappointment flashed in Clark's eyes. Is that really the case? Clark slowly turned the coffee cup, a little absent-minded. This is also expected. After Zed came to Earth, Clark knew that Krypton had been destroyed. His biological parents also died at that time. Until Zed was also killed by his own hands. Clark then knew that he was the last Kryptonian. It was just the appearance of Lin Feng that gave him a glimmer of hope. Same Superman uniform, same Superman ability. He once thought that there was a group of Kryptonians living somewhere he didn't know about. However, it turns out that Raymond Lam is not a Kryptonian from this universe. Seeing Clark's disappointment, Lin Feng shook his head and laughed a little. He knew Clark's loneliness, the loneliness that came from being the last person of his race. Imagine if you were the only human being left in the universe. How lonely and desperate it would be. Clark, do you know about parallel universes? Lin Feng said, with some implication of reminding Clark. Parallel universe. Hearing Lin Feng's question, Clark was stunned for a moment, then nodded. I knew that before, but I thought it was just speculation. I didn't believe in the existence of parallel universes until I saw you. Seeing that Lin Feng just smiled without saying anything, a thought flashed through Clark's mind. Are there still Kryptonians in the parallel universe? Lin Feng smiled and nodded, yes, there are countless Kryptonians in countless parallel universes. Clark, you are not alone. As far as I know, in one of the parallel universes, there is another you. And you in that parallel universe also have a cousin. Cousin? Clark stared at Lin Feng closely. As Lin Feng spoke, Clark's eyes gradually brightened, showing his joy at knowing that he had compatriots. Not in the same universe though. Yes, her name is Kayla. Zo.el. Lin Feng nodded and continued. In that universe, Krypton is also facing a critical moment of survival. And Kayla Zor-El was sent to Earth to protect you in that world. But her spaceship was affected by the explosion and fell into the phantom space. It wasn't until 24 years later that she accidentally landed on Earth. She is just like you in that world, protecting the Earth, protecting the citizens. When Lin Feng said this, he suddenly frowned and stopped. What's wrong? Lin Feng. Clark was listening with great interest when he suddenly saw Lin Feng stop. He asked in confusion. Lin Feng did not answer. It suddenly occurred to him that the characters in the parallel world had great similarities. Although there is no information about this in the movie. But since Kayla Zor-El exists in the parallel world, so does she exist in this world? Lin Feng thought for a moment, and he was a little hesitant about whether to tell Clark about this speculation. If it were said out loud, it would undoubtedly give Clark hope again. But what if Kayla Zor-El didn't exist in this universe? Clark was afraid that he would be disappointed again. Lin Feng, just say whatever you want to say. Clark noticed that Lin Feng was a little hesitant, so he spoke directly. He guessed that it might be that Lin Feng thought of the information related to himself. Lin Feng looked at Clark. His eyes were complicated, with pleading, hope, and solemnity. After sighing, Lin Feng still expressed his speculation. Sure enough, this speculation impressed Clark. His brain started working at high speed, and he began to think about what would happen if he also had a cousin in this world. How should he find her? But there was too little useful information, and Clark thought about it for a long time, but to no avail. He couldn't help but ask Lin Feng again, Lin Feng, do you have any way to help me verify whether my cousin exists? Lin Feng shook his head. He had no way of confirming Kayla's existence. In the end, Lin Feng just gave a suggestion. You could go out into space and get some sun more often, Clark. With greater strength, things often become simpler. You can't confirm her existence right now, so make yourself stronger. Oh, by the way, pay more attention to Barry. It's not easy for that kid to run. Lin Feng winked at Clark and said meaningfully, maybe one day, he will run to another universe. After finishing the coffee in the cup, Lin Feng stood up and said goodbye. This was all the information he knew, and he told Clark all of it. I hope Kayla really exists in this universe. This way Clark at least has a compatriot. Clark stood up to see him off. Lin Feng waved his hand, and soared into the sky. In the next 2 days, Diana took Raymond Lam for a tour around the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Barry took Lin Feng to eat a lot of delicious food. Aquaman Arthur is going to take Raymond Lam to catch fish under the sea. Even Bruce was asking if he needed anything. Only Victor was relatively normal. He gave Lin Feng a pair of headphones he made himself. There is a Superman S-shaped logo on both sides of the earphones. He believes that working as Superman is tiring, and this pair of high-quality headphones he carefully crafted will give Raymond Lam some time to relax. In fact, Raymond Lam really wants to complain because these things also exist in the world he lives in. It's not like I haven't seen the world. But it was hard to refuse such a kind invitation, and Raymond Lam didn't want to let everyone down. After 2 days of crazy fun, under the watchful eyes of a group of superheroes, Raymond Lam stepped into the portal and bid farewell to the DC Universe. Chapter 41. Marvel Universe. The night sky of the Twister. A portal with a faint glow suddenly appeared. When the light disappeared, Lin Feng slowly appeared in mid-air. In this season, it gets dark earlier. Lin Feng took out his cell phone. When he went to DC to do the mission, he saved his mobile phone in the system space. I forgot to check if Marvel's mobile phone can be used in DC. I looked at the time and it was just 7 o'clock in the evening. Lin Feng noticed the date. More than a week had passed since he left. Lin Feng stayed in DC for about 4 or 5 days at most. It seems that the speed of time flowing in the two worlds is different. Lin Feng roughly calculated that the time flow rate was about 2:1. But it's okay, it didn't exceed the 10 days I agreed with Susan. Putting away his phone, Lin Feng determined his location. The system did not teleport him back to where he left. Instead, a portal opened above the twisting waist guest. Lin Feng didn't care either. He activated the ring's built-in stealth function and slowly flew towards his villa. The lights were on in Lin Feng's villa, and it was obvious that Susan was at home. Ever since the two of them got together, Raymond Lam asked Susan to give up the rented house. Asked Susan to move in with him. The name is to not waste money. As for what he was thinking secretly, I know what he was thinking. Lin Feng flew down and opened the door. The lights were on in the living room, but no one was there. Instead, the noise came from the kitchen. Lin Feng chuckled and quietly moved over. However, halfway through the journey, his steps stopped and the smile also disappeared from his face. An unfamiliar black-haired woman was cooking with her back to him. Obviously not Susan, the height is different. Lin Feng was a little confused. What was going on? Thief? It doesn't look like that. There is no way a thief would go to someone else's house to cook. Lin Feng was just about to ask when the woman spoke first. Susan. Time to eat. The woman put the prepared food on a plate and shouted upstairs. She turned around with the plate in her hand and was also stunned. She also saw Raymond Lam. The two stood there, looking at each other. Sky. Lin Feng was also stunned when he saw her face and called out subconsciously. You know me? Sky exclaimed, his eyes flickering. That's right, the black-haired woman is none other than Marvel's Vibe Girl, Sky. At the moment, Sky should not have joined S.H.I.E.L.D. yet. Lin Feng remembered that Sky should have joined S.H.I.E.L.D. after the Avengers Alliance timeline. The current Sky should still be a thorn in the side of S.H.I.E.L.D. He is also a troublemaker with superb hacking skills. But none of this matters. Why did Sky appear in his own house? Lin Feng narrowed his eyes and asked directly, "Why are you in my house?" Sky slowly placed the plate in her hand on the dining table. The brain is running at high speed, weaving lies. At the same time, I couldn't help but feel curious. She and Raymond Lam have almost no interactions. Why did Raymond Lam know her name? Lin Feng watched her actions calmly, waiting for an explanation. Fortunately, Raymond Lam knew that she had not yet joined S.H.I.E.L.D. Otherwise, people would suspect that the black salted eggs were causing trouble again. Before Sky could speak, footsteps were heard coming down the stairs. Susan came downstairs. Forrest. Susan, who was surprised to see Lin Feng coming back, screamed and threw herself into Lin Feng's arms. "You're back." Lin Feng was embraced, but he was not happy. He keenly noticed that Susan's tone was filled with a hint of grievance. His heart skipped a beat and Lin Feng frowned immediately. "What happened? Are you being bullied?" Lin Feng gently pushed Susan away from his arms. Sure enough, Susan's eyes were red and she looked aggrieved. Obviously he had cried. In an instant, Lin Feng's face turned cold. "Susan, what's wrong? Who bullied you?" Susan's red eyes from crying looked like a big rabbit. She pouted and looked at Lin Feng like a wounded animal. "I was fired from the company." Every word he said was full of grievance. Lin Feng was speechless. "I didn't expect to be fired. There's nothing to cry about. With Superman news in hand, wouldn't it be easy to find another radio station?" "Wrong." Lin Feng suddenly realized that something was wrong. Susan has a huge news resource about Superman. Almost every radio headline was shot by Susan. In everyone's eyes, Susan has become Superman's exclusive reporter. It can be said that any radio station that has Susan is equivalent to having the first-hand news of Superman. What was the radio station thinking, firing Susan? I'm afraid there is some hidden secret here. The most likely possibility is that someone is targeting Susan and is plotting something against her. Otherwise, even if Susan was fired, she should be angry instead of feeling aggrieved. Thinking that Susan might be bullied, Lin Feng suddenly felt a surge of anger in his heart. He lowered his head and gently wiped away Susan's tears. "Baby, what's the matter?" Lin Feng's gentle words contained a hint of anger. Helping Susan sit down at the dining table, Lin Feng spoke again. "Tell me, why did the radio station fire you?" Susan was held in Lin Feng's arms, and his gentle words stirred her emotions. All the grievances I had suffered during this period of time came back to me again. The emotions that had been adjusted collapsed at this moment. The strength I reminded myself of had already been lost in some corner at this moment. Susan choked up and said, They said They say I am. Wow." Before she could finish her sentence, Susan hugged Lin Feng again. "Bury your head in Lin Feng's chest." Burst into tears uncontrollably. When has Lin Feng ever seen such a scene? My hands and feet were instantly in a panic. He raised his hands in the air, at a loss. This cry made Lin Feng's evil anger disappear. Good job. This girl has suffered so much injustice. Lin Feng felt that his clothes on his chest were wet with tears. He looked around for a tissue. But Susan held him tightly and he couldn't move away. "Here. For you." A female voice sounded, and a tissue box was handed over. It was Sky, who was temporarily ignored by Lin Feng after seeing Susan being wronged. Lin Feng's mind was completely focused on the aggrieved Susan. Forget about Sky, who appeared inexplicably in the house. Lin Feng glanced at Sky, took the tissue and thanked him. Then he took out 2 sheets and gave them to Susan to wipe. The snot bubbles came out and stuck to the clothes on Lin Feng's chest. Lin Feng was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Susan also noticed her own ugly behavior, and her aggrieved face suddenly turned red again. "I'm sorry." She had no choice but to stand up and sit up straight, letting Lin Feng wipe her tears. During this time, I couldn't help but hiccup and cry. Seeing this, Sky sighed. She sat opposite the two of them and said, "Let me tell you what happened." Lin Feng kept moving his hands. He just glanced at Sky and nodded at her. Susan was fired from the radio station because of a rumor that day. A limousine from Stark Industries came to pick up Susan from Get Off Work. Once someone took the photo, the rumor spread. It said that Susan hooked up with Tony Stark. Sky explained the cause and effect in brief words. Hearing this, Lin Feng paused. I was the one who went to pick up Susan. I'm also a shareholder of Stark Industries. Why would they think that? After that, Lin Feng said to Susan gently, Baby, didn't you explain to them? I said. Susan explained while hiccuping. But they said you were the driver. They don't believe my explanation. They also said that I had an improper relationship with Superman. Talk about me, saying I can always take pictures of Superman because of me, I climbed onto Superman's bed. Wow. After saying that, Susan started crying again, and cried even harder. She felt so wronged. Obviously, I worked so hard and made such a great contribution to the radio headlines. But none of her colleagues believed her. She didn't understand what she had done wrong. After listening to Susan's intermittent explanation, Lin Feng felt that the evil fire that had just disappeared surged into his heart again. Where the hell did this rumor come from? Chapter 42. Sky pulled out a laptop from somewhere. Rumors alone are not enough to get the radio station to fire Susan. She turned on the computer, called up some things, and showed them to Lin Feng. Look at this. Lin Feng looked at the screen with a cold face. What he saw next made Lin Feng's pupil shrink. The rumors about Susan actually appeared on major forums and gossip news. BBC Radio's Susan Carter suspected of spending the night with Tony Stark. Where does Susan Carter's Superman news come from? Susan Carter, a journalist who relies on her body to get ahead. Superman's comments on Susan Carter too timing? Iron Man and Superman are fighting for the girl. Lin Feng looked at these titles with anger in his eyes. Each one is more outrageous than the last. The most popular comment has nearly 10 million likes. This comment, which has the most likes, has almost no text. All the pictures are related to Susan. Susan got into a luxury car with Stark Industries license plates. Susan and Superman are walking on the street. There are even photos of Susan kissing Superman. Raymond Lamb could tell at a glance that the kissing photo was a synthesis. But this does not prevent the onlookers from speculating and doubting. The internet is like this. The incident started brewing, accompanied by the iron evidence of the photos. In addition, with the endorsement of BBC Radio, almost no one verified whether the photo was a synthesis. Sky clicked the mouse and opened the Superman forum. Countless posts are constantly being refreshed, commented on, and published. Many people are waiting for Superman to show his true colors. There are also many people who are working hard to defend Superman. Lin Feng's face looked uglier than ever before. Susan shrank her shoulders, and she seemed to feel that the air around her had become a little colder. Someone is pushing these rumors behind the scenes. Lin Feng spoke, his voice a little hoarse. Sky nodded, you are right. She clicked the mouse again and two photos appeared on the screen. According to my investigation, these two people are responsible. Who are they? Lin Feng asked in a cold voice. The inexplicable evil fire seemed to burn more and more fiercely, making Lin Feng's eyes seem to be spewing flames. Susan had never seen Lin Feng so angry. She pulled Lin Feng's sleeve with some fear. Lin Feng didn't notice Susan's little movement. He stared at the screen intently, looking at the two photos with cold eyes, as if he was looking at dead man. Sky slid the mouse and the information of the two people appeared separately. This fat, big-eared man is called John, and he is the nephew of the BBC Radio boss. Sky enlarged the picture of John, a hint of disgust flashing in her eyes. He is the mastermind behind this. According to my investigation, he had pursued Susan many times but was rejected. It was not until Susan and you confirmed your relationship that John embarrassed Susan in the office. In the end, I ended up embarrassing myself. I think that's his motivation. Sky analyzed. If you can't get it, you will destroy it. Sky has seen a lot of such extreme psychological distortions on the internet. After that, Sky opened another photo. This old woman is called Flora. She was one of John's mistresses, and she provided John with a lot of information. Strictly speaking, he is also one of the masterminds of this rumor. She once asked Susan to give her the news about Superman, but Susan refused. According to my research, old women are very jealous. Susan is beautiful, kind, and has a high popularity and status in the radio station because of Superman's information. Plus Susan had rejected her request. She started to hate Susan. Sky said as he opened another picture, which was the comment with 10 million likes. According to my investigation, This comment was made by someone Flora paid to find. They also hired a large number of trolls. Many misplaced and malicious photos were taken by them. That's roughly the situation. Sky stopped talking, just picked up the cup and took a sip of water, waiting for Lin Feng to digest this information. Lin Feng looked at the information coldly. After a while, he turned his gaze to Sky again, gritted his teeth and asked, "Sky, you have such advanced hacking skills, why don't you clear this information?" His voice was filled with uncontrollable anger, and his eyes were chillingly cold. Sky was stunned. She didn't expect Lin Feng to ask this. The moment Sky looked up and met Lin Feng's gaze, he felt like he had fallen into an icy cave. What a cold, angry, yet sharp look. Sky shivered involuntarily, her mouth open. She had a feeling that a word was stuck in her neck. If her answer was not good, she would die in the next second. She didn't know why she had this feeling, but cold sweat had already appeared on her forehead. "Lin, what are you talking about? Do you know Kai?" Susan sat aside and looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. He actually blamed innocent people? She knows Raymond Lam's character. Susan felt that Lin Feng was a little too angry today. It's abnormally big. Her name is Kay, not Sky, Lin. Susan explained, pulling Lin Feng's arm. Kay has tried very hard to help me. She's my best friend. What's wrong with you tonight, Lin? I feel like there's something wrong with you. Susan looked at Lin Feng with her big red eyes, her eyes full of worry. After hearing Susan's words, Lin Feng realized once again that something was indeed wrong with him. That inexplicable evil fire seemed to be eating away at his sanity. What's even more wrong is that it is actually difficult for me to contain this evil fire. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and then forced a smile that was uglier than crying. "Sorry, Sky. I didn't mean it. I was just too worried about Susan." As soon as these words came out, the pressure on Sky suddenly loosened. The feeling of being stared at by death at that moment slowly dissipated. Sky let out a long breath and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He explained with a wry smile on his face. "It's not that I didn't help. But when I found out, things had already become very difficult. At that time, rumors had already begun to spread. They organized to publish a large number of manuscripts at the same time. There are a lot of rumors on the internet, forums, personal programs, and news without any distinction. Even if we contain it, it will be useless." Sky sighed, her hacking skills were second to none. But for something that was already brewing, Sky's actions would only arouse more suspicion. Instead, it will have the opposite effect. Sky continued, "If you want to stop this rumor, we need stronger evidence. At least Tony Stark and Superman should come forward to clarify, but this is undoubtedly difficult for us." At this point, Sky shook his head. "Let's not talk about whether Tony Stark will clarify this matter. We can't even contact Superman." Having said that, Sky sighed again. The only skill she had now was hacking. Helping Susan find the culprit was already his current limit. After Sky finished speaking, Susan secretly glanced at Lin Feng. Although Kai was her best friend, she did not tell Kai that Lin Feng was Superman. She felt that this was Lin Feng's privacy, and Susan would not say anything he didn't want to say. Respect is mutual. Seeing that the two were silent, Sky started typing on the computer with his hands. While knocking, he said, "You don't have to worry too much. Susan is my best friend after all. I have another solution for this, but it's a little more complicated. The effect will be a little worse, but there is nothing we can do about it." Sky also knew that Stark and Superman were not so easy to invite. So she came up with another solution, though not as good as the first. Lin Feng tapped the table with his fingers in annoyance, interrupting Sky. "No need for a second plan, use a better one. I'll contact Stark and ask him to explain. As for Superman, he will also show up. Whether it's shooting a video or holding a press conference specifically for this matter, they won't refuse." Sky was shocked when he heard Lin Feng's words. She looked at Susan and then at Raymond Lam. My goodness, is her best friend's boyfriend so awesome? Is he bragging? Regardless of what Sky thinks, Lin Feng already has some plans in mind. "Susan, stay home, I'm going to go out for a while." After saying that, Lin Feng walked out. "Lin, where are you going?" Susan called from behind. Lin Feng turned his head, his face looked a little grim. "I'm going to break those two necks." Chapter 43. Regardless of what Sky thinks, Lin Feng already has some plans in mind. Susan, stay home, I'm going to go out for a while. After saying that, Lin Feng walked out. Lin. Where are you going? Susan called from behind. Lin Feng turned his head with a somewhat ferocious look on his face. I'm going to break those two necks first. Susan was almost scared to death by these words. She took 2 steps at a time, rushed forward, hugged Lin Feng's waist and pulled him back. No. Lin. Calm down. You're going to jail. She felt that Lin Feng was really crazy. Lin Feng went out for a while, and when he came back he seemed like a completely different person. Lin Feng chuckled. He really wanted to break the necks of the 2 culprits. But he hadn't lost his mind yet and knew that this wasn't the best way to solve the problem. He pulled Susan away, feeling somewhat amused and helpless. I was joking, you little fool. I'm going to meet Tony Stark and discuss this matter with him. Susan looked him in the eyes. Promise you won't lie to me. Okay, I promise. Lin Feng looked at Susan helplessly. Seeing Lin Feng's eyes, which were not evasive and did not seem to be lying, Susan finally felt relieved. She was really scared by Lin Feng just now. Who is Raymond Lam? Superman. He was going to break someone's neck, and I was afraid no one could stop him. However, breaking the necks of those 2 people would most likely create a negative image for Raymond Lam in the eyes of the public. This was something Susan didn't want to see. Lin Feng also knew this. Although breaking the 2 people's necks was simple, the subsequent impact was somewhat uncontrollable. If she isn't careful, Susan will be caught up in even bigger public opinion. If it's too late, I'll sleep at Tony's place. Lin Feng said. Don't worry about me. Susan nodded, remember what you promised me. Don't be impulsive. Lin Feng smiled and nodded in agreement. After saying goodbye to Susan, Lin Feng ran to a secluded corner. A black battlesuit appeared, and Lin Feng soared into the air, flying straight upwards. Several sonic booms were left in the air. Soon, Lin Feng flew out of the atmosphere and into outer space. The sunlight shone on him, and the evil fire in his heart was constantly dissipating. System. Lin Feng closed his eyes and called out. Is there something wrong with my body? Lin Feng already had some guesses in his mind, but he was not too sure. The system didn't say anything, just popped up a video and started playing. The picture shows Raymond Lam in the DC world. He and Diana stood in front of the portal. On the other side of the portal are Darkseid and his men. The camera zoomed in and Lin Feng watched carefully. The mother box was separated and the portal was slowly closing. However, no one in the picture noticed. A black line, almost invisible to the naked eye, crawled over from the portal. After that, it quietly attached itself to Lin Feng. The video ends here. Lin Feng's face was gloomy, but he understood in his heart. Just as he guessed, someone had done something to him. Is it that exile? Lin Feng murmured to himself. The system also popped up at this time. Yes, it's the exile. I warned you to be careful of the exile. Is that how careful you are? The system questioned unhappily. These words made Lin Feng feel a little embarrassed, as he had just finished a battle. How can I notice such a tiny black line? Why didn't you remind me? You discovered it at that time, right? Lin Feng fought back and put the blame on the system. Since the system has this video, it means that it must have discovered the black line at that time. However, I didn't remind myself out loud, which was not very considerate. Hee. The system sneered. I'm not reminding you so that you will remember it. Once you get tricked once, you'll be more careful next time. I've said before, every exile should not be underestimated, the system continued. They don't appear often, but every time they do, some people fall for them. All those who got hit were careless people like you. After the system said a few words, Lin Feng was left standing there in embarrassment. Okay, it was indeed my negligence. Lin Feng scratched his head and admitted his mistake. He felt that the main problem was indeed with himself. Although he already possesses the ability of Superman, Lin Feng's combat experience and attitude towards the enemy still needs to grow and exercise. There is nothing wrong with the system's approach. Only by suffering losses will one learn from it. What exactly is this black line on his body? Lin Feng asked. Why do I always feel like there's an evil fire that can't be extinguished? After hearing Lin Feng admit his mistake, the system stopped pressing him. It's good that the purpose of learning a lesson has been achieved, and it is also for Lin Feng to grow up as quickly as possible. That is a kind of dark magic. The system explained. He can infinitely magnify the 7 deadly sins in the hearts of living things. That is, gluttony, greed, pride, laziness, lust, envy, and anger. Will Superman also be affected? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. As long as you have these desires, you will be affected. When the host feels angry, the dark magic will amplify it infinitely. Until you are completely controlled by anger and are dominated by it. This is very similar to the magic that controls Clark. After some explanation, Lin Feng completely understood. After I came back, I learned about Susan's incident. Anger arises inside. So the dark magic was activated, causing his anger to be infinitely magnified. Fortunately, Raymond Lam did not completely lose control. Thinking of this, Lin Feng felt a little scared. If he really loses control, the consequences will be disastrous. Aren't I afraid that countless people's necks will be broken by me? Is there any solution? Lin Feng asked the system. Since the system did not remind me, there should be a solution. Otherwise, you won't let yourself fall into the trap foolishly. There is a solution, the system replied. Sure enough. The system will not actually expose itself to danger. A bottle of blessing potion worth 500,000 reputation in the store. 1 bottle can neutralize dark magic. Lin Feng made a tactical retreat. What's so expensive? A small bottle of potion costs 500,000 reputation points. Lin Feng couldn't help but complain, it's not okay to take advantage of the situation. Dog system, is there any other solution? Although Lin Feng now has tens of millions of reputation points, he doesn't want to be a loser. The system rolled its eyes, too expensive. If you think it's too expensive, go find Ancient One. She can also remove the dark magic from you. It depends on whether she is willing to help you. Lin Feng curled his lips at the system's answer. He felt that Ancient One would not reject him, since he had given him a bag of tea last time. I opened the system and bought another pack of life leaf tea. A pack of leaves only costs 50,000 reputation points. Lin Feng said that it is normal to bring some things when visiting someone for help. Why would I spend 500,000 reputation points on a problem that can be solved with 50,000 reputation points? After temporarily storing it in the system warehouse, Lin Feng flew towards the Himalayas on the blue planet. He remembered the Ancient One's base camp, where Kamartaj was. Approaching the Himalayas, Lin Feng discovered that it was not far in front of him. Suddenly there was a flash of light, followed by a golden halo. It's a portal. Lin Feng stopped in midair and smacked his lips. This portal was most likely opened by the Ancient One. Lin Feng didn't think much and flew towards the portal. As he approached the portal, Lin Feng saw the Ancient One magician behind the portal. She was sitting at the tea table, looking at herself with a smile. It seemed that the Ancient One knew he was coming for her. Lin Feng flew into the door speechlessly and landed on the ground. I know why you're here, Lin Feng. Ancient One had a smile on his face, invited Lin Feng to sit down, and made him a cup of tea. Lin Feng's eyes flickered, but he kept complaining in his heart. This kind of big boss is opening remarks again. With the time gem, the Ancient One can see the past and the future. To be honest, Lin Feng is a little envious. Chapter 44. He pushed the tea to Lin Feng, who picked up the cup and drank it all. The tea was hot, but that didn't matter to Superman. Even boiling water would not cause any harm to Lin Feng. After drinking the tea, Lin Feng took out the tea leaves he had just bought from the system warehouse. Magician, I brought gifts. Lin Feng laughed and pushed the tea leaves towards Ancient One. Ancient One took a look and shook his head with a smile. She definitely knew what Raymond Lam meant. Even if there is no gift, I will help you. I already knew it when you left this world. Ancient One hesitated for a moment, but finally accepted the tea. Lin Feng's tea leaves were unknown where they came from, so Ancient One tried to check the source of the tea leaves. But I found that the screen was just pitch black. Don't worry, the dark magic you were hit with is not that complicated. Ancient One said that she knew Raymond Lam was a Superman with a quick temper. We don't expect young people to be able to calm down. Look, said the Ancient One, stretching out his hands. She intertwined her hands and drew symbols that Lin Feng couldn't understand. Following the Ancient One's movements, a golden magic circle appeared out of thin air. Keep spinning, keep changing. The magic circle slowly approached Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt as if something was being peeled off from his body. Not long. The Ancient One cast the spell with his right hand, pulling back quickly. A very thin black thread was pulled out from Lin Feng's body. The black line emitted black mist, floating in the air, trapped by the magic circle. After taking a closer look, Ancient One opened a portal and threw the black line in. As the black line left his body, Lin Feng suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. The evil fire that was omnipresent disappeared without a trace. I threw him into the dark dimension, said the Ancient One. It won't affect you anymore, don't worry. The Ancient One certainly had her reasons for doing this, it was all dark magic, and Dormammu would probably not mind the Ancient One littering. Seeing that Ancient One solved the problem very easily, Lin Feng also breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the exile's dark magic is not very effective in front of the Ancient One. Thank you, magician, for this time. Lin Feng bowed and thanked him. Ancient One shook her head, her face full of meaning. Helping you is helping Blue Star. You will play a big role in the future, Raymond Lam. Lin Feng listened to the Ancient One's words with a vague understanding. He had read the original novel and could roughly guess what the Ancient One was talking about. The future should refer to the plot of Avengers Alliance 3 or 4. In the Marvel Universe, the biggest crisis on Blue Planet so far comes from the Purple Potato Spirit. Raymond Lam doesn't know whether it was easy for him to fight the Purple Sweet Potato Spirit, but based on his performance in the movie, the Purple Potato Spirit shouldn't be able to withstand a few of my heat rays. Thinking of this, Lin Feng felt a little relieved. The only thing worth paying attention to is whether Raymond Lam's arrival will trigger an even bigger butterfly effect. Although there are no signs yet. But Raymond Lam feels that the butterfly effect is bound to happen. Several things he did after coming to Marvel changed some of the plots. This was not what he wanted, but he had no choice but to change the plot. Because the moment he appeared in Marvel, the plot was destined to change. Only by being fully prepared can we face the unknown storm brought about by the butterfly effect. After bidding farewell to the Ancient One magician, Lin Feng flew towards Tony Stark's villa. Solved this troublesome problem for myself. It's time to address Susan's problem. Tony happened to be in his villa. He welcomed Raymond Lam's arrival. Lin? You're back. Tony was sitting in the living room, watching Lin Feng fly down from the sky and walk into the house. Lin Feng didn't bother to be polite with him. He sat down on the sofa, picked up the wine glass in front of him and poured himself half a glass. When he left for DC, he told Tony Stark that he would be away for a few days, but he didn't say where he was going. After drinking a glass, Lin Feng breathed a sigh of relief. He noticed something was wrong with Tony's reactor. The light source appears as a triangle. You made it. Lin Feng pointed at the reactor on his chest and said with a smile, Congratulations. Tony said as if it was a matter of course, I definitely made it. Who do you think I am? Genius inventor, Tony Stark. Tony continued, I think I know why you came to see me. Is it because of Susan? The second tactical retreat of the day. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. How come everyone knows what they are going to do? Lin Feng shook his head, somewhat helplessly, Susan is still wiping tears at home now. I noticed that too, Tony said with some hesitation on his face. Stark Industries has started PR. Originally I should have solved the incident as soon as possible, but linear. You may not know, I've been a bit busy lately, that's the one. Tony gestured in the air with his hands. A big guy insists on having a mecha battle with me, So. Lin Feng interrupted Tony and nodded, I know. Tony, I don't mean to blame you. Tony's case has been in the news, and Ivan Vanko and Hammer Industries have copied his mecha. However, Ivan Vanko never really wanted to cooperate with Hanmo Industry from the beginning to the end. He controlled a large number of mechas and chased Tony, causing sparks to fly all over the sky. It's the plot of Iron Man 2, and it happens to happen in these few days. So Tony couldn't take care of many things. Tony nodded, relieved. He said this because he was afraid that Raymond Lam would blame him for not taking any action to stop the rumors. It is true that Tony Stark has been very busy these days. New reactor development. And there is the conspiracy of Ivan Vanko. This made Tony extremely anxious. PR will see results soon, Tony continued. Jarvis has identified all the main people who spread the rumors. I believe that tomorrow, the United States authorities will lock them all up in a small dark room. You? As Superman, would you like to come forward and explain? Half of the rumors are about Tony Stark, while the other half involve Superman. Lin Feng nodded. As a Superman, he definitely had to step forward. Even if Susan was not his girlfriend, he would come forward to help the innocent person clarify the facts. That's why I came to see you. I think that simply explaining the incident may not be credible enough. So what do you mean? Raymond Lam's words made Tony a little confused. I want you to shoot a video with me and post it on the forum. Lin Feng explained. Oh, man, I never do anything like this. Tony narrowed his eyes speechlessly. This is very embarrassing, do you understand? Tony refused. I mean, it's too low. After being rejected, Lin Feng didn't say anything, but just stared at the reactor on Tony's chest and asked. Is the tea delicious? This sentence made Tony speechless and his eyes twitched. He heard the hidden meaning in Lin Feng's words. I give you tea to detoxify you and information to create new elements. Now let me take a video and tell me you don't want to? Okay, Lin, you are an exception. Tony raised his hands helplessly in surrender. Just this once, just this once. He held up a finger. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction, no problem. The two happily worked out the content of the video, and Jarvis was responsible for filming it. The process lasted about an hour. Tony always felt that he wasn't handsome enough in the picture, which led to 2 reshoots. By the time it was over, it was already early morning. Raymond Lam did not go home, nor did he spend the night at Tony's villa. Since I had my own villa. Lin Feng was somewhat reluctant to live in someone else's house again. This made him feel inexplicably strange. And as long as there is sunlight. Even if Lin Feng didn't sleep for several days and nights, he would not feel tired. Time quickly came to the next day. Early in the morning, Stark Industries' public relations department was down. Lawyers' letters and statements spread across major forums. The key figures who spread the rumors are listed in detail. Even the information and photos of key figures were released after being censored. And he said he would hold those responsible accountable to the end. This left the onlookers a little confused. In the past, even if Tony Stark was involved in gossip, he would not bother to explain. It is rare for a public relations incident to end up like this, although the scale of the rumor this time is a bit large. Some sharp-eyed netizens have realized that there is something else going on. The protagonist of the incident, Susan Carter, may have a background that they don't know about. Under the attention of countless netizens, several masterminds of the incident who received money were quickly arrested. There are even live footage released. John was caught red-handed on the BBC radio station. He screamed in fear and was ruthlessly dragged into the police car. Flora was not spared either. She looked confused and incredulous. During this rumor-mongering incident, neither of them showed up in public even once. Even though she hired sailors, Flora was cautious and asked John to use BB coin for transactions. Why did the police come to her door so quickly? She couldn't figure it out. John was still yelling for a phone call. He fully expected his uncle to save him. But what he couldn't see was, his uncle was standing not far away, with a gloomy face, watching him being taken away without saying a word. He didn't know that his uncle had already received the message. This time Stark Industries put huge amounts of pressure on the Twisters authorities. This is not a situation that a radio station boss can resolve. Chapter 45. The rumors about Susan came and went quickly. If Iron Man and Superman weren't involved, the onlookers didn't know who Susan was. In just one morning, several main rumor mongers were arrested. 2 of the ringleaders, John and Flora, were held in custody and were not allowed bail, no matter how much money was offered. The remaining rumor mongers are under investigation and awaiting finalization of specific punishments. The speed of the arrest stunned the crowd of onlookers. Major forums and news headlines that carry rumors are also being cleared out. Until a video appeared on the front page of major forums and was quickly pinned to the top for certification. Only then did this matter finally come to an end and the incident was put to rest. At that time, in Lin Feng's villa, Susan was sitting on the sofa in a daze. Sky was wearing headphones and fiddling with his laptop, reporting his performance to Susan from time to time. It wasn't until Sky saw a pinned video that she was stunned. Sky took off his headphones and switched them to external speaker. Susan. Look, Stark actually made a video to clarify things for you. Oh my goodness, is your little man energy that high? Sky looked at the video title and comments and was amazed. Sky became extremely interested in Lin Feng's identity as Tony Stark was able to make a video to clarify the matter. He pushed the laptop towards Susan and hit the play button. The two watched it together. The picture is very clear, with Tony Stark sitting in the center of the screen. He was wearing home clothes and had a serious expression. He leaned forward. Jarvis. Has it started yet? It's time, sir. Very good. Tony clapped his hands and announced the start of the video. Ahem, no need to introduce yourself. Tony spoke into the camera. I think there should be no one who doesn't know me. I didn't want to record this video. But I decided to record him to help a friend of mine. Everyone is paying attention to the rumors about Susan Carter lately. I think some people are crazy. Susan is my friend's woman. How dare you say she's clinging to me? Are you trying to sow discord? Hey. Tony asked with a frown. Let's not talk about how outrageous this matter is, because I believe that when this video was released, that's when the rumor mongers are arrested. People who know me well know that I usually don't respond directly to rumors about me. Because I don't care whether he is real or not. Tony Stark's aura was fully on display, and his tone was full of teasing humor. But this time the incident is different. You want the truth, right? I'm going to tell you the truth now. The vehicle that picked up Miss Susan Carter that day was indeed a Stark Industries vehicle. And the driver is happy, I admit that. What I want to say is that one of our young shareholders fell in love for the first time. He had no experience, so I arranged an evening trip for him. Is that a problem? I don't understand, don't you have anything to do? How can such a thing be spread to this extent? Susan's boyfriend is a shareholder of Stark Industries. He can use the company's car as he pleases, whether to pick up his girlfriend or for other purposes. This is the truth of the matter. I am warning some people who don't know their limits. Susan Carter is a shareholder of our Stark Industries. Have evidence before you speak. And your crudely made synthesis pictures and so-called textual truths, I just wanted to laugh when I saw it, it's so low level. Tony constantly pulls at the context of what's going on in the video. The number of simultaneous viewers of the video has skyrocketed. About the last question, Miss Susan Carter, and the Superman rumor. At this point, Tony Stark suddenly laughed. Regarding this rumor, he may be a little different from what you imagined. I dare say this truth, you have never expected it. As he spoke, Tony stood up from his chair, picked up the camera and filmed to the side. Miss Susan Carter's boyfriend is not only a shareholder of our Stark Industries, he is still someone you are very, very familiar with. How do you say that? Let him explain it himself. Tony pointed the camera at Raymond Lam. Come on. Lin, say hello. Lin Feng appeared in the picture. He was wearing a black suit and a pair of thin-framed glasses. The whole person is slender and elegant. He looks just like the young CEO in a TV drama. Someone has recognized him. He is the man who was mistaken for the driver in the rumors. However, it has now been clarified that the driver was happy, and he is a shareholder of Stark Industries. He is also Susan Carter's boyfriend. Raymond Lam smiled at the camera and greeted them. Hello everyone, I didn't expect to appear in front of you in this way. Without further ado, I will tell you directly the issues you are concerned about. Why Susan always gets to take photos of Superman's news. I think I have a lot to say. In the video, Raymond Lam went straight to the point and revealed the inside story of the second rumor. In his villa, Sky glanced at Susan and said with some envy, "Is your boyfriend a shareholder of Stark Industries? Good fellow, no wonder he can afford a villa." Sky admitted that she was a little envious. Susan smiled awkwardly. She hadn't told Susan any information about Lin Feng. Although the two have a very good relationship, Susan still respects Raymond Lam's personal privacy. Go on, continue watching the video. Susan changed the subject. In the picture, Raymond Lam continued to speak. Susan and Superman actually knew each other long before Superman became famous. Their acquaintance came from an accident. As for what the accident was, I can't say more here. I can only say that 99% of the recent comments about Susan are false. I hope that all citizens will not follow suit, let alone forward those rumors. Otherwise, the authorities will come to your door. Lin Feng had a smile on his face, and his words were full of sarcasm. The implication is self-evident. However, some people watched the video with disdain. The reason is simple. Although Lin Feng is a shareholder of Stark Industries, but in fact, he personally has no credibility or fame. This is what is called a person of little influence. If people don't know who you are, they won't be willing to believe what you say. Raymond Lam definitely knows this. He had discussed this with Tony in advance. It's time to make a big move. The video continues to play. Lin Feng in the picture pondered for a moment. I believe many people don't know me, so they are not willing to believe what I say. They might ask, how do you know that Superman and Susan are already acquainted? Some people also feel sorry for me because their girlfriend follows Superman around every day. Well, all I can say about this situation is, I'm not jealous because my identity as a shareholder of Stark Industries is unfamiliar to everyone. But my other identity has been seen by most people who have seen the video. After the words were spoken, the citizens who were watching the video were all confused. Could it be that Susan's boyfriend, besides being a shareholder of Stark Industries, has another identity? Susan, sitting in the villa, had some vague guesses in her mind. She stared at the screen intently, but felt a little worried. The next second, Raymond Lam in the picture took off his glasses and ring. In an instant, a sense of familiarity came over everyone. Countless citizens felt that this face was very familiar, as if they had seen it somewhere. But I couldn't remember it for a moment. The answer was soon revealed. Lin Feng took off his glasses and ring, and slowly floated into the air. The next second, a black battlesuit slowly covered Lin Feng's entire body. The huge S-shaped pattern marks his identity. The moment of putting on Superman battlesuit. Countless citizens stared at the screen in amazement. Screaming, in disbelief, that's what it is. On this day, Omega's screams resounded throughout the entire Twisting Waste village. No one expected it. This handsome boy is actually a superhero who often appears in the news. Superman. What was even more unexpected was that Superman would take the initiative to reveal his identity and explain the matter. A shareholder of Stark Industries and the boyfriend of the rumor victim Susan. It's Superman. Chapter 46. Lin Feng took the initiative to reveal Superman's identity. He felt that there was no need for him to hide it any longer. In addition to proving themselves, citizens knowing their identities will gain greater exposure and their reputation will grow faster. The Susan rumor soon died down. Superman and Iron Man show up. There is no more convincing explanation and truth than this. Countless citizens who were misled by the rumors were filled with guilt towards Susan. They spontaneously published their apology statements on the internet and major forums. The radio station that reported the rumors was also not left out. They all came out to apologize. From the demise of Stark Industries, to Lin Feng revealing his identity, to the complete characterization of the incident. It took less than a day. The authorities even issued a statement saying that the Twisted Waste tourists, the two masterminds of this incident, John and Flora. He may face a sentence of at least 10 years. The incident officially came to an end amid the cheers of countless citizens. After this, Susan did not return to BBC Radio. She will always remember. When you are caught up in rumors. What kind of faces did her colleagues who usually treated her with smiles have? It's disgusting just thinking about it. So she rejected the BBC radio station's request for her to return. With the help of Raymond Lam, Susan decided to start her own business and specialize in writing reports about superheroes. A forum video website has also been established for this purpose. With all the live coverage and gossip entertainment from Superman and Stark Industries. The website once became the most popular place for citizens who love superheroes. Smart Susan also does live broadcasts from time to time. Live broadcast of Raymond Lam in his daily life. This move brought a considerable wave of traffic to the website. What makes Lin Feng happy is that the website traffic also brings him a lot of reputation. The more attention citizens pay to Lin Feng, the faster Lin Feng's reputation will rise. After this incident, Raymond Lam also welcomed a few months of ordinary life. Over the past few months, Raymond Lam has been dealing with various disasters. Once again accumulated nearly 20 million reputation points. Add to that the reputation value generated by the popularity contributed by places like Susan's website and Superman forum. Now Lin Feng's reputation value has exceeded 60 million. Lin Feng was very satisfied, as he was getting closer and closer to exchanging for the Silver Superman template. It is worth mentioning that during this period, Nick Fury contacted Raymond Lam. Something like a big hammer fell from the sky. It's stuck in the ground and can't be pulled out. He said he wanted Lin Feng to try and see if he could pull it out. Lin Feng decisively refused, he was not very interested in it. Just tell Nick Fury that hammer is Mjolnir. As for the rest, let Nick Fury check Norse mythology himself. Raymond Lam, who is familiar with the plot, definitely knows what is going on. Odin's mentally retarded eldest son was exiled to Blue Star for training. But Lin Feng really had no interest in this at all. He also didn't want to know if he could pull up Mjolnir. It's not necessary and it's boring. Whether or not he can pull it out has no effect on Lin Feng's strength. I'd rather spend this time at home being affectionate with Susan. After several months, Susan's website is now completely on track. A mature and stable process has been formed. She formed a small team of just a few people and outsourced most of the work. And she returned to her favorite way of working, taking pictures with Raymond Lam all day long. Seeing that Susan was finally free, Lin Feng couldn't help but start to implement the ideas he had when he was in the DC universe. Take Susan to the beach to bask in the sun. Both of them were young people, and they hit it off and set off immediately. Fly to the Maldives. Lin Feng turned off their cell phones and decided to have a good time. There are no Superman and reporters these days. Only Raymond Lam and Susan. Sea fishing. Diving. Sailboat. Undersea house. Banana boat, jet ski. The two of them tried all the possible activities. White pearl sand. Blue water. Even saw pink dolphins. The two of them were having a blast. They were having so much fun. Took a bunch of beautiful photos. This is the life of a normal couple. Lin Feng sighed. If it weren't for the appearance of one person, Lin Feng felt that he and Susan could continue to play for another half a month. He sat on the beach, watching the Quinjet falling from the sky in silence. The hatch opened and Natasha Romanoff jumped out, walking straight towards Lin Feng. The corners of Lin Feng's mouth twitched, his face was full of black lines, and he couldn't help but speak in a sarcastic tone. Hey! Isn't this the pizza delivery man? Don't ride an electric bike anymore? Deliver food by plane. Can you make back the gas money? Lin Feng stretched his head and pretended to nod at Quinjet. Unexpectedly. Facing Raymond Lam's teasing, Natasha Romanoff did not refute but stared at him seriously. Lin Feng. We are in trouble. Lin Feng's eyes twitched. What does it have to do with me? I'm on vacation with Susan. The Tesseract has been taken away. Black Widow did not respond and continued speaking. The one who took the cube is called Loki. His brother Thor has also come to Blue Star. You know the Tesseract, and you know that hammer is Mjolnir. We know you can help. Although I don't know what Loki wants to do with the Tesseract. But it's definitely not a good thing. Lin Feng, we need your ability. His words came out like a machine gun. Lin Feng scratched his head. Okay. Isn't this the plot of Avengers Alliance 1? Is it coming so soon? Lin Feng was about to speak when the system's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Ding! A new mission has begun. Mission content: expel the Chitauri army that invaded Blue Star. Mission time limit: 3 days. Mission reward 1, 10 million reputation points. Mission reward 2, determined by the number of Chitauri troops defeated by the host. Mission penalty: none. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Oh my goodness, it's alive. Another 1000 reputation points. Lin Feng. Natasha Romanoff saw that Lin Feng didn't say anything for a long time, so she called out again. Lin Feng came back to his senses, nodded and said, no problem. I'll go with you. Wait for me a moment, I want to talk to Susan. Seeing that Raymond Lam agreed, Black Widow couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. With Superman's help, things will be much easier. I'll wait for you in the fighter plane. Black Widow nodded and said, hurry up, we don't have much time. Lin Feng nodded. Return to the suite and find Susan. Lin Feng briefly explained the situation. Susan has become accustomed to Raymond Lam solving various disasters everywhere. She said she wanted to take some photos along with them, just like before. But unexpectedly, he was rejected by Lin Feng. The situation this time is not as simple as rescuing a fire scene or a ship struggling in a storm in the past. This time, the Chitauri army, armed with weapons, invaded Blue Planet. It is very dangerous for ordinary people like Susan. So he wanted Susan to stay in the Maldives for a while. When he had solved the problem, he would come back to pick her up. The understanding Susan also nodded and agreed. Although she has the Superman wristband given by Raymond Lam. But she knew how precious the Superman wristband was. If you take this wristband out and sell it, it is estimated that it can be sold for at least 11 or 12 figures. She was reluctant to waste the wristband on such a thing. After saying goodbye to Susan, Lin Feng boarded the Quinjet. The fighter plane slowly took off and flew towards the location of the aerospace mothership. In the fighter plane, Natasha Romanoff was telling Lin Feng about the currently known intelligence. Lin Feng listened in a disjointed manner. But he had other thoughts in his mind, recalling the plot. He has watched Avengers Alliance 1, but his memory of some specific plots is vague. What I remember most clearly is the beginning of Avengers Alliance marks that the purple sweet potato spirit has begun collecting infinite gems. It was from this film that Avengers gradually took shape. On the aerospace carrier at this time, Tony Stark, Captain of the United States, and Bruce should be here. It seems like there was a fight on the mothership. Lin Feng thought. He used supervision and super hearing, looking along the front of the fighter flight. This is no big deal. Lin Feng's expression suddenly became strange. Natasha Romanoff. Lin Feng said. What's wrong? Black Widow, who was speaking happily, was interrupted and stared at Lin Feng. Is the fireworks system installed on your director's aerospace carrier? Black Widow has a face full of black question marks. What the hell is this? How come the fireworks system is installed on the aerospace carrier? Seeing this, Lin Feng sighed and continued. If not, then the aerospace carrier must have exploded. Chapter 47. Black Widow's face changed when he heard this. Immediately order the fighter pilot to return as quickly as possible. Lin Feng sighed and said. Open the hatch, I'll fly over first. He felt that this scene was somewhat familiar. It seems that last time in the DC universe, he also jumped out of the plane early. This damn familiar feeling. The fighter plane door opened. Lin Feng jumped out and flew towards the aerospace mothership. Several times faster than the Quinjet. In an instant, he disappeared from Natasha Romanoff's sight. At the moment, a series of explosions sounded on the aerospace carrier. The aerospace carrier was also hacked by Hawkeye, and the number 1 engine stopped. The aerospace carrier was seen tilting at a speed visible to the naked eye. A group of superheroes are fighting against the invaders. The Hulk is destroying everything like crazy. Thor has been backstabbed by Loki, locked in a large iron box and thrown off the heli-carrier. The Captain of the United States was fighting with several controlled soldiers. Tony Stark acts as the hamster engine, trying to fix the engine. When Lin Feng arrived, the Hulk is working hard to dismantle a fighter plane. The pilot ejected in time and Hulk was blown down from the sky. Lin Feng ignored him. With Hulk's physique, a fall wouldn't be a big deal. He quickly flew to the engine. He took out the soldiers fighting with the captain one by one with one punch. Pull down the lever. The engine revved down, and Tony took the opportunity to fly out from underneath. Freed from the hamster engine dilemma. If it was 1 second later, he would be dead. Iron Man flew onto the mothership and opened his mask, revealing the face inside. Forrest. Where have you been? The phone isn't even on. Tony gasped. Raymond Lamb smiled and replied, I'm on vacation. I didn't expect you would secretly set off fireworks in the air without my knowledge after only being away for a few days. That's not funny, Lin. Tony spread his hands. Captain, come and meet me. The most powerful human on the blue planet, Superman. I tell you, no creature on the blue planet can withstand his punch. I'm not exaggerating, but your old age body probably can't take a punch from him. Tony pulled Lin Feng over and introduced him to the Captain of the United States. The introduction is not very friendly. Lin Feng nodded to the Captain of the United States as a greeting. Hello, Steve Rogers. The United States Captain ignored Tony. After spending a few hours together, he had a general idea of Tony's personality. Hello, Captain. Lin Feng nodded in response. After some communication, the three of them walked into the mothership. The situation is a bit bad. Loki had run off, taking his scepter. Natasha Romanoff also arrived and was comforting Hawkeye, who had just recovered. After a fierce battle, Nick Fury's aerospace carrier was almost unable to fight back. See a few people coming back. Lu Dan had a gloomy face and threw out a bunch of blood-stained cards. Agent Phil Coulson is dead. This was found in his coat pocket. Looking at the card, the United States captain was silent. On the cards are pictures of various captains of the United States. Phil Coulson is a fan of the United States captain and these cards are part of his long-term collection. He didn't even get to ask you for an autograph. Speaking of this, Black Braised Egg also discovered Lin Feng. He nodded at Lin Feng. There was no time to greet him properly now. Lin Feng knew what Black Braised Egg was thinking. He tried to use these cards to bring the group together. Complete his Avengers plan. The effect was just as he expected. After saying this, Tony turned around and left. Black Salted Egg knew that Tony was moved. He turned to look at Lin Feng, his meaning was self-evident. Seeing Lu Dan looking over, Lin Feng spread his hands and said, "Don't look at me, I won't join the Avengers. You should know my strength. I told you a long time ago. You can't protect the Tesseract. It will only bring disaster to you." Lin Feng and Black Sauce Egg stared at each other without giving in. After a while, Lu Dan sighed. "We need to gather our strength." "I don't need it." Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and retorted mercilessly. "The Avengers combined are not enough for him to defeat, would he need them?" "Okay." Lu Dan glanced at the thoughtful captain of the United States. "At least they need." The conversation ended awkwardly, and Lin Feng brought the United States captain to find Tony. "I know where he is." Lin Feng spoke directly. Tony raised his eyebrows, "You know." Lin Feng nodded. "Loki needs energy to open the Tesseract. He is going to lead an alien race to invade the blue planet, and during this process, he needs flowers and a guard of honor. He wants to stand at the top and let his name resound through the sky. So, where do you think he will be?" After saying that, Lin Feng pointed at Tony's reactor in the air to remind Tony. Tony's face changed, and he thought of. With a curse in his mouth, he ran to repair his mark armor. After confirming the information, several people made preparations. Directly hijacked a Quinjet. Set off to the Stark building. I didn't even tell Black Sauce Egg. However, except for Lin Feng, the others didn't know, and all this was within his expectations. Several people ran towards Loki's direction at high speed. Lin Feng and Tony had already arrived at the Stark building. The United States captain and others were still sitting on the Happy Shake machine in the back. The speed was so slow that even the dogs shook their heads when they saw it. At the moment Loki's space device has entered its final stage. He was standing on top of the Stark building, silently watching Raymond Lam and Tony coming from flight. Tony and Lin Feng looked at each other and descended slowly at the same time. Tony landed on the demolition table. With a click, Jarvis controlled the robotic arm to help him remove his armor. Lin Feng was the first to walk into the house, leading Loki into the house. Loki at the moment looked confident. "Tell me you're here to applaud my humanity." He Lin Feng sneered, "I'm sorry, we are here to threaten you." Tony turned his head, a black question mark on his face. "Man, why are you stealing my line?" Loki held up the scepter and pointed at Lin Feng in the air. "Who are you?" Lin Feng had a playful look on his face. "The famous god of trickery doesn't know who I am. It seems that you didn't do your homework before coming to Blue Star." At that word, Loki's face darkened. "Do you know me?" "Loki, god of trickery, adopted son of Odin, am I right?" Lin Feng raised his eyebrows and revealed Loki's identity. Loki's eyes flickered a little. He didn't expect that there was a human on the blue planet who knew him. But it doesn't matter, the Tesseract will open the portal soon. When the Chitauri army appears, everything will be under his control. Even if you know me, it won't change anything. Loki said. "The Chitauri are gathering, it's all over." As if to confirm Loki's words, a loud noise was heard in the sky. Buzz, the sound came along with the vibration. The entire Stark building trembled. "It's Tesseract." The teleporter sends huge amounts of blue light into the sky. High in the sky, a blue vortex slowly opened. The invasion of the Chitauri army has officially begun. Countless Chitauri fell from the sky. There are also huge amounts of leviathans. Countless citizens screamed and ran away. When had they ever seen such a scene? It's exactly like the plot in a science fiction movie where aliens invade the blue planet. Screams and explosions rang out one after another. "Captain and the others are here." Tony spotted the Quinjet outside. It was the captain and his men. His expression was solemn, and he turned to look at Lin Feng. "Lin, we are about to take action." Chapter 48. Tony looked solemn. He turned his head and looked at Lin Feng. "Lin, it's time for us to act." Lin Feng was about to nod. But Loki walked up and interrupted the two of them. "I guess you don't stand a chance." He walked towards the two people step by step. "The Chitauri brought an entire army. Humanity has no chance of winning. It's better to just sit here and watch quietly." I will give you the opportunity to submit to me, thank the great Loki. After saying this, Loki raised his head, ready to accept the praise and thanks from the two. I don't want to talk to you. Tony rolled his eyes. This self-proclaimed god is not in a very good brain. He put on the positioning bracelet and called Jarvis to prepare new armor. I think it's you who should surrender. Have you forgotten that we still have the Hulk? Tony sneered. Your so-called legion is nothing in front of the Hulk. Oh. Loki's head tilted, his expression darkening. The two people in front of me don't know what's good for them. In that case, Loki wouldn't mind giving them a ride. As if he had thought of something, Loki put on a playful and evil smile. The scepter in his hand was extended to Tony Stark. Hulk, hey? How about letting you deal with that big guy? After saying that, scepter tapped Tony's chest. With the sound of climbing. There was the sound of metal clashing. Tony was not controlled. Loki was a little stunned. He clicked it again, not believing it, but there was still no response. Lin Feng, who was watching from the side, could hardly hold back his laughter. Back then, when Raymond Lam saw this scene in the cinema, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. It would be strange if there was any reaction if you click on someone else's reactor. Seeing Loki lift up the scepter, he wanted to try again. Lin Feng stepped forward and snatched the scepter. He didn't want to waste any more time talking to Loki. There are a lot of military merits waiting for him to earn. Have you had enough fun, god of trickery? Wait for your brother to give you the education of love. After saying that, Lin Feng kicked out. Kicked Loki directly off the top of the Stark building. He didn't care whether Loki lived or died. He is a god after all, and falling from this height won't kill Loki. After dealing with Loki, Lin Feng nodded to Tony. Tony, let's get started. Tony nodded in response and quickly put on the latest Mark 7. After putting on the clothes, Tony flew directly into the sky and analyzed the data of the Chitauri army. Lin Feng stood there, looking at the scepter in his hand. If they remembered correctly, the gem embedded in Scepter's head should be one of the infinite gems. Mind save. System, can Scepter receive the system space? Lin Feng asked. Now that the scepter is in his hands, it's his. Just consider it as an apology for the crime Loki committed. However, the system's reply was no, infinite gems could not be stored in the system space. Lin Feng was not discouraged after getting the answer. Just unscrew the gem on Scepter's head. He exerted force with his palm and the shell shattered instantly. The yellow mind gem was revealed. Since it cannot be stored in the system space, just embed it into the Superman wristband. Without a carrier, the mind gem emits a faint light. Lin Feng held it in his hand and didn't feel any discomfort. The mind gem slowly approached Superman's wristband. The surface of the wristband suddenly began to ripple like flowing water. Boom! With a crisp sound, the gem was embedded in the wristband. In an instant, yellow light spread from the wristband and flowed through Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng couldn't help but snorted. He felt a surge of energy emanating from his wrist. Keep washing the body. At the same time, his keen perception told Lin Feng. His ability is slowly increasing. The biggest perception is that supervision and superhearing have been significantly enhanced. After a while, the gem fell silent. Lin Feng let out a long sigh. Feels pretty good. The energy of the infinite gems appears to have a similar effect to solar radiation. Although it is slow, it is improving Lin Feng's ability all the time. This is much faster than the sun on Earth. Thank you Loki for the gift from afar. Now there are 2 gems inlaid on Lin Feng's wristband. Yellow Mind Gem, and Special Red Kryptonite. With the power of the Mind Gem, Raymond Lam feels that he can defeat the demonized Clark without using Red Kryptonite. Lin Feng leaped out of the Stark building. Outside, the flames of war broke out. Legions of the Chitauri constantly pour in from the blue portal. The roar of the Leviathan could be heard from several blocks away. It's time for Raymond Lam to show his talents. With a leap, Lin Feng aimed at a few lone Chitauri and fired a red heat ray. The Chitauri who were hit had no power to resist, and their entire bodies disintegrated under the heat ray. The Chitauri army fought back. The blue energy cannon kept bombarding Lin Feng. Lin Feng dodged them all flexibly. Occasionally a bullet would hit Lin Feng, but he would act as if nothing had happened. Even the battlesuit on his body was not damaged at all. A black figure kept shuttling above the waist twister. Heat rays were fired one after another as if they were free. It's a pity that Lin Feng doesn't have a large-scale clearing skill. It is not possible to destroy a large number of Chitauri troops at once. Just like that, Lin Feng punched with his left and kicked with his right. A heat ray from time to time. Large numbers of Chitauri fell into his hands. The Chitauri army also discovered this troublesome Blue Star man. Group after group of teams continued to attack Lin Feng. He looked like he was not going to die. This relieved some of the pressure on Iron Man and the others. But even Superman can fight constantly. It also made him feel irritable and tired. Although in Lin Feng's eyes, the fighting power of Chitauri is about the same as that of ants. But pinching too many ants takes time and energy. The high temperature of the heat ray caused Raylan's eyes to feel uncomfortable. Lin. I'm in trouble. Tony's voice rang out from Lin Feng's headset. Iron Man encounters the Leviathan. His laser weapons couldn't even break through the behemoth's defenses. Raymond Lam definitely understood what he meant. This is a call for help. I immediately started using supervision. I see you. Tony. Lin Feng replied and quickly flew in Tony's direction. Tony at the moment was riding Leviathan around. Lin Feng rushed over, his eyes turned red and bright. Base. A heat ray with richer color than the previous one was fired. Different from the ordinary Chitauri army. Leviathan's armor is very thick. It withstood the heat ray for 4 or 5 seconds before it was pierced through. Then there was a wail and he fell to the ground. Thanks. Lin. Tony thanked them and quickly flew to the ground to help the captain of the United States and others. The United States captain and Natasha Romanoff do not have flight ability. He can only rely on his extraordinary physique to fight the soldiers on the ground. As for a big guy like Leviathan, it can only be left to Iron Man and Raymond Lam. Lin Feng looked at the portal high in the sky. Several Leviathans emerged again. Lin Feng frowned. Heat rays cannot immediately penetrate Leviathan's armor. Using the line for a long time consumes too much of Lin Feng's physical strength and energy. Sudden. An idea came to my mind. Lin Feng's mind moved. Next second. The mind gem on Superman's wristband glows. A huge amount of energy was transmitted to Lin Feng's eyes. The eye sockets quickly turned orange-red, and an orange-red heat line was shot out. This time, the heat ray created a big hole in the Leviathan in less than a second. This is not the end yet. The flame-like orange-red energy did not dissipate. It is slowly devouring the remaining body of Leviathan. Powerful. Lin Feng sighed. He suddenly had an idea and used the mind gem to amplify the heat ray. It actually worked, and the power of the heat ray was at least twice as great. As expected, it's infinite gems. Several Avengers who had already taken shape on the ground witnessed this scene. Lin Feng, he seems to be even stronger. Black Widow said with a complicated expression. The United States captain did a Thomas spin in the air and slammed the shield heavily on the head of a Zeta soldier. Then he panted and said, "It seems that we are not completely hopeless. But if we don't close the portal, it will be useless to continue fighting like this." These words were said by Hawkeye, who was standing on the rooftop, looking into the portal with a serious expression. The Chitauri army is still teleporting over. Several superheroes have dealt with countless Chitauri. Without exception, everyone showed signs of fatigue. But the portal does not close. Chitauri are like ants, they can never be killed. If it turns into a protracted war, it will be very unfriendly to the Avengers. Who knows how many Chitauri troops are on the other side of the portal? If everyone really loses their fighting ability, Blue Star will be finished. At this time, Lin Feng's voice sounded in everyone's earphones. I have a way to shut down the portal. Lin Feng, who had been listening to the discussion, spoke. But before that I want to give them a big gift. Drop a word. Lin Feng flew towards the portal without looking back. The Chitauri army on the ground is too scattered and too slow to kill. Lin Feng decided to meet the Chitauri fleet behind the portal. Chapter 49. As the Avengers watched, Lin Feng rushed straight into the portal in the sky without stopping. The figure quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. What does he mean by giving a big gift? On the ground, Natasha Romanoff looked at the United States captain in confusion. Steve, still breathing heavily, responded with a question mark. How should I know? Aren't you worried about him? The other side of the portal is the universe, right? Steve felt that Natasha Romanoff's question was off topic. In his eyes, Lin Feng's behavior was completely self-destructive. What surprised him was that no one was worried. Don't worry, Captain. Iron Man's voice sounded in the channel. The environment of the universe is not a problem for Lin Feng. He often goes to the universe to bask in the sun instead of worrying about him. Let's deal with these ugly aliens on the ground first. After hearing Tony's answer, Steve's face was full of black question marks. Have the Blue Star people evolved to this level now? After Lin Feng flew into the portal, the headset was disconnected. I couldn't hear people discussing him anymore. His eyes looked forward. In the vast universe, countless leviathans carrying the Chitauri army flew towards the portal. Behind them is a huge amounts of H-type spacecraft. It is the mothership of the Chitauri Legion. In the mothership, leviathans of this legion are still flying out continuously. With this number, the Avengers won't be able to finish fighting them even if they are given several days. The Chitauri army also discovered Lin Feng. At the order of the mothership, commanding the leviathan to fly towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't intend to pay attention to them. He doesn't want to fight the Chitauri army in the universe. When will we be able to finish fighting so many? His target is the mothership. As long as the mothership is blown up, the Chitauri army will be turned into a pile of mud. Lin Feng stared closely at the huge amounts of motherships behind the Legion. In the original book, Tony destroyed the mothership with a nuclear bomb. However, due to Lin Feng's butterfly effect, the nuclear bomb was not launched. However, Lin Feng still has a way to destroy this mothership. He activated the mind gem with a thought. A moment. The mind gem on the wristband glowed yellow, becoming brighter and brighter. It is several times brighter than on the blue star. Energy poured into Lin Feng's eyes as if it were free. His eye sockets turned a glowing orange-red. Its brightness even surpasses the surrounding stars. The Chitauri army that was on their way felt that Lin Feng had turned into the Sunday. Until there was a sharp pain in my eye sockets. Lin Feng then released the restraints and fired out the heat ray. Orange-red rays suddenly burst out in the universe. With the blessing of Mind Gem, Raymond Lam's heat ray reached an unprecedented intensity. Like concentrated sunlight. Shooting straight towards the Chitauri mothership. The terrifying energy spread along with the rays. Those Leviathan monsters that are closer to the ray track. They were reduced to ashes without being hit. The heat ray hit the mothership without any surprise. The orange-red energy wantonly destroyed the hull. It didn't even have time to explode before being completely swallowed up by the energy. Huge amounts of motherships were instantly reduced to ashes and disappeared into the universe. What a terrifying energy blessing! Lin Feng felt that if he were in the DC universe, he would have such powerful power. Clark probably has to die again. The moment the mothership disappeared, countless Chitauri troops were like machines that had lost power. Fall down instantly. The Leviathan army in the universe lost its life and floated away like ghosts. No longer a threat. On Earth, the Avengers, who were still fighting hard, were watching the alien invaders who were just alive and kicking. The next second, they all collapsed to the ground. Chitauri riding a flight device. The huge Leviathan. They fell from the sky one after another. The sudden change left everyone confused. Natasha Romanoff and others subconsciously looked towards the portal. Lin Feng succeeded. I don't know who said that. Jarvis. Tony called from inside the visor. The highly intelligent Jarvis immediately understood what he meant. Sir, it has been confirmed that all alien creatures have lost their life signs. After getting the confirmation, everyone in the Avengers Alliance breathed a sigh of relief. The tense nerves also relaxed. Exhaustion made them sit on the ground and rest. It really worked. Everyone was amazed at Lin Feng's powerful fighting ability. Why hasn't the portal closed yet? Steve asked, and he found that the portal had not changed at all. Didn't Lin Feng say that? He has a way. Natasha Romanoff leaned against the scrapped vehicle, looking at the portal in the sky. Wait for him to come back. Hearing this, the few people who were sitting on the ground to rest stopped talking and just turned their gaze towards the portal again. Everyone is waiting for Raymond Lam to come back. After a while, Thor suddenly raised his hammer and pointed. He's back. The sharp-eyed Thor spotted Lin Feng. Sure enough, everyone saw the familiar black figure flying back from the portal. It was Raymond Lam. Lin Feng flew back and slowly landed on the top of the Stark building. He still had to close the portal before it was completely over. I'll go take a look. After saying this, Tony controlled the armor and soared into the sky. With a thud, Tony also landed on the top of the building. Lin Feng was standing next to the transmission device. But what Tony didn't understand was, Lin Feng did not close the portal immediately. Instead, he rubbed his eyes frantically with his hands. What operation? Hey, man! What happened to your eyes? Tony greeted and stepped forward. Lin Feng subconsciously raised his head when he heard Tony's voice. What fuck? Tony looked at Lin Feng's eyes in astonishment. It was as if he had conjunctivitis, his eye sockets were red, and tears were even flowing uncontrollably. You were hit in the eye? Tony asked uncertainly, but he started thinking in his mind. Is it possible that Raymond Lam's weakness is his eyes? Lin Feng also felt the pain in his eyes. First time using mind gem. Lin Feng didn't find the right balance. The energy transmitted was so high that his eyes have not yet recovered. It's okay. Lin Feng said while rubbing his eyes. What happened? Are all those Chitauri dead? Tony nodded. Yes, lying on the ground without moving. How did you do that? Lin Feng blinked and calmed down a little. I blew up their mothership. The heat ray was overused. Lin Feng pointed to his eyes. Just as he thought. After the Chitauri mothership disappeared, all the Chitauri troops are offline. Well, I'm not surprised. You are a monster after all. Tony pointed to the transporter and reminded. Now, should we find a way to turn this thing off? Lin Feng nodded and took 2 steps forward. Don't worry, I have a way to turn it off. It's time to close this portal. Lin Feng raised his left hand wearing a wrist guard. The mind gem glowed again. An energy shield that even Iron Man's palm cannon cannot destroy. To Lin Feng, it was like air, and he just reached his hand in. He grabbed the tesseract and pulled it out. Buzz! The beam of light broke instantly after losing its energy supply. The portal slowly closed under the gazes of countless people. It heralds the defeat of the Chitauri and the end of the invasion campaign. Chapter 50. In the vast universe. Holy Place spacecraft number 2 is moving slowly forward. On the throne inside the spaceship, sitting there was a giant titan with a sturdy build, purple skin, and vertical stripes on his chin. It was Thanos, a member of the Eternal Clan who was exiled. Beneath the throne stood his daughter, Gamera with green skin. Nebula is half human, half machine. And his loyal dog, Ebony Maw. In front of everyone, a huge amount of screen is playing a video. In the picture, a human from Blue Star wearing a black battlesuit with a huge S logo on his chest is floating in front of the Chitauri mothership. His eyes were bright orange-red. Almost tangible light shone from his eyes. Destroyed all the Leviathans along the way. The Chitauri mothership lasted less than a second under the radiation before turning into powder and disappearing without a trace. This footage plays in a loop. Thanos looked gloomy and looked back and forth. My great master. Ebony Maw placed one hand on her left chest, bent over and said respectfully. It was this human who caused the plan to fail. He coveted the mind gem. He has to pay with his life to appease his master's wrath. As a loyal servant of Thanos, he dutifully flatters Thanos. Father. Xingyun turned around, knelt on one knee, lowered his head, and spoke in the same respectful manner. Please let me go to Earth, tear off his head, and bring the mind gem back to you. She was eager to show herself and prove herself to Thanos. Prove that she is his most capable daughter and prove that she is more powerful than Gamera. Thanos looked at Nebula and Ebony Maw expressionlessly and was silent for a while. My daughter, I have other plans for you. Mind gem, put it on Earth first. When the time comes, I will go and retrieve it myself. After saying this, Thanos no longer cared about the two of them. He turned his gaze back to the screen. It seems that another powerful being has appeared on the blue planet. Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One. The King of God Odin. This is the main reason why he did not go to the 9 realms in person. These two ancient beings are not easy to deal with. He had foreseen Loki's failure. That adopted son of Odin is only capable of some ridiculous clever tricks. The Chitauri's attack was just a test pawn for him. Thanos never had any hope for their house-like plans. Thanos has his own plan. Judging from the current progress, there are not many variables except for the appearance of that powerful human. He decided to get the other gems first. As for Blue Star, when the time is right, he will go there in person. On the blue planet, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the United States ZF are dealing with the aftermath. Major radio stations reported on the ruins at the scene. The discussion about Avengers and Superman is skyrocketing. The arrival of aliens made countless citizens feel like they were in a dream. The establishment media is criticizing the destruction caused by the Avengers. The citizens were thanking the Avengers one after another. Two completely different voices spread across the world. And at the moment, the Avengers are the protagonists of the news. Including Lin Feng, who was sitting in the Stark building to rest. Inside the French window, Thor stood in front of Lin Feng, looking dusty and dusty. Black-haired boy, I'll say it again. He held Mjolnir in his hand, his face gloomy. The space gem belongs to Asgard. You have no right to claim it as your own. I say it again, hand him over. Lin Feng lazily leaned on the sofa and gave Thor a look full of disdain. 3 gems lay quietly on his wristband. The yellow mind gem, the blue space gem, and the red special kryptonite. After pulling out the tesseract, he crushed the Rubik's cube, took out the space gem, and embedded it in the wristband. The space gem is the same as the mind gem, its energy is slowly strengthening Raymond Lam's ability. How could Lin Feng possibly give it to Thor? The meat is already in my mouth, and you still want to pull it out? You said he was from Asgard. Do you have any evidence? You. Thor's hand was throbbing with veins as he held Mjolnir. I want to teach this rogue black-haired boy a lesson. This was the second time he asked Raymond Lam for the space gem. The first time, Lin Feng kicked him out of the building. The kick was so fast that Thor couldn't catch it. Although he didn't want to admit it, he couldn't beat Lin Feng. Lin Feng doesn't care what Odin's mentally retarded eldest son thinks. If he doesn't know what's good for him, Lin Feng doesn't mind kicking him again. Hey! 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 Seeing that the two were getting more and more angry, Iron Man Tony stood up to protect his Stark building. He squeezed in between the two of them and stretched out his hands to keep some distance between them. Calm down, you two. We just finished a fight, aren't you tired? Well, let me say something fair. Tony spoke to himself, then pointed at Thor. Lin Feng is stronger than you, I think there is no doubt about that. The first sentence made Thor's eyes turn cold. He felt that this Iron Man was up to no good. Oh man, don't look at me like that. Tony was not afraid at all and looked around. Isn't what I said the truth? The United States Captain, Natasha Romanoff, Hawkeye, and even Hulk, all nodded subconsciously. Lin Feng can fly out of the universe to blow up the Chitauri mothership. What did Thor do on Blue Star? He just killed a few Chitauri and was stabbed by his own brother. There is no doubt about who is strong and who is weak. Tony was very satisfied with everyone's performance. He turned around and spread his hands towards Thor. Look, everyone thinks so. Let's sort out this disaster again. Your brother, the second prince of Asgard, brought it here. Countless people died because of your brother, and even the coordinates of Blue Star might have been exposed, right? He's an adopted son. Thor's face turned red as he made a weak defense. As soon as he finished speaking, he regretted it and looked away subconsciously. Loki stood there in handcuffs, piercing himself with his eyes, full of disdain. Okay, but he is indeed your brother, you can't deny that. Thor nodded grimly. Tony continued, this disaster was caused by your brother. And the one who calmed this disaster was Lin Feng. I suppose no one denies that. Everyone nodded subconsciously again. Tony clapped his hands. Isn't that clear now? As the protagonist who ended this disaster, Raymond Lam, he has the right to deal with the gem, doesn't he? How good is Iron Man Tony's tongue? When it comes to talking, who here can talk better than him? What's more, what Tony is saying now is the truth. On one side are the unfamiliar Asgardians, who are the culprits who caused this disaster. On one side is his good friend and savior, Raymond Lam. Tony knows exactly who to help and who not to help. After hearing these words, everyone felt that it made a lot of sense. Only Thor's face was red from beginning to end. But the space gem has always belonged to Asgard. Thor's voice got quieter and quieter, and more unreasonable. Lin Feng was a little impatient with Thor's forced defense. He stood up, his aura fully radiating. Then I tell you, it doesn't belong to Asgard now. Since he appeared on Blue Star, it means you didn't protect him well. I give it to you, and you lose it again. After saying that, Lin Feng sneered and added, besides, infinite gems don't have owners. You only kept it for a while. You said it belonged to Asgard. Aren't you blushing? Lin Feng and Tony's continuous bombardment completely overwhelmed Thor, leaving him speechless. For a moment the whole room fell silent. Seeing that Thor stopped talking, Loki jumped out from the side, his eyes full of mockery. Poor son of Odin. Not only can he not defeat the Blue Star people, but he doesn't even understand reason. If anyone tells this, I wonder how many Asgardians will laugh out loud. Shut up! Thor was so angry that he grabbed a silencing device and put it on Loki's mouth. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.